Douluo, after listening to the advice, I became a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Avalanche. Using force to suppress others, Flanders said to Zhao beside him. This is the student of Douluo Royal Academy? It's just a bunch of garbage. I'm starting to doubt whether coming here is a wrong decision. Zhao smiled bitterly. Don't ask me. How do I know? The royal team that fought hard with the little monsters last time was not like this. Maybe there are dregs everywhere. Even Zhao Gang, who insisted on coming here, was speechless at this time. Okay, Mubai. Flanders called Mubai to stop. If he continued to fight, it would not be a beating. I'm afraid he would be disabled. Mubai stopped, and his evil eyes flashed with evil light. Look who is going to get out. You dare to make trouble in our Douluo Royal Academy. This is a provocation to the Empire. You wait. Flanders snorted coldly. The hat is well put on, but it's just garbage. Call your academy teachers to come out. It is obvious that Mubai did not buy it. At this moment, a vigorous voice suddenly sounded. What's going on? Why is there so much noise? A figure came quickly along the tree-lined path on the hillside. He was dressed in a silver suit and looked about the same age as Flanders. His face was like a silver plate. His eyebrows were thick and his eyes were big. He had his hands behind his back and looked like a master. Great, it's Teacher Sunday. The young man from before almost crawled over to meet him as if he had seen a life-saving straw. Teacher Sun, they actually dared to come here to cause trouble and beat us up. You have to help us. Teacher Sun frowned as he looked at the student in front of him who looked like a lost dog. Avalanche, what a mess you are. In front of outsiders, he did not scold his students much and looked in the direction of the Shrek Academy group. After all, teachers and students are different. When Mr. Sun's eyes met Flanders, he couldn't help but secretly moved in his heart. He hurriedly stepped forward and bowed slightly, saying, Please come in, everyone. I am Sun Buayu. I wonder what you are doing in Douluo Academy? He did not mention the fact that his students were beaten. He stood there with a calm air. Since he was polite, Flanders naturally would not dwell too much on the previous things. He said calmly, We are here to find Qin Ming. Just now, these students in your academy said that we are beggars and asked us to get out. So there was this conflict. After hearing what Flanders said, several people from Douluo Royal Academy were immediately dissatisfied. What do you mean by saying this? If you didn't say those words to us first like you were telling your servants, would we do this? You are arrogant and don't allow us to fight back. It seems that you have all the reasons, and if you can't win the argument, you just sneak attack and beat people. Where is the reason? After saying this, Flanders' face suddenly became ugly. Even this teacher Sun Buayu frowned after seeing the expressions on the other side. It was obvious that what these students said was true. Is this true? Flanders didn't know what to say for a moment. After all, judging from the situation, it seemed that he was indeed at fault first. He had always been used to being the dean, so he didn't care too much. But after saying this, he naturally felt a little embarrassed. After thinking for a while, he directly released his own soul saint aura. Strength is respected in the Duo continent. I don't think there is anything wrong with what I did, right? Use power to pressure people? Zhu Beng suddenly said this. Sun Buayu thought of something and suddenly asked, You are looking for Teacher Qin. I wonder if you are from Shrek Academy in the Kingdom of Bark? Flanders nodded and breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. After all, he was taking a risk just now. After all, if he really took action, things would not be so simple. That's right. Sun Buayu's expression suddenly became respectful. I admire you very much for being able to teach a genius like Teacher Qin. On behalf of Douluo Royal Academy, I apologize to you all for what happened just now. Please come in. As he said that, he made a gesture of invitation and glared at the students of Douluo Royal Academy, as if to say, I will deal with you later. Zhu Beng and others were stunned for a moment. Is this our Douluo Royal Academy? After seeing this, A trace of resentment flashed in the eyes of these students. Only then did the Shrek Academy group set out on the mountain climbing road under the leadership of teacher Sun Buiyu and headed towards the academy in the mountains. Looking at the people who were gradually going away, Zhu Beng, who had been kicked away by Dime Bai before, couldn't help but reveal a resentful light in his eyes. Shrek Academy? What is Shrek Academy? They just come to our academy to make a living. Humphrey, just wait. You can't stay here while I'm here, Your Highness. This is not good. A student next to him said tentatively. What's wrong with that? Even the empire belongs to our family. Let's go. I won't attend the class today. I'll go find someone to seek justice. I can't be beaten in vain. If I don't drive them out, I won't be able to let go of the hatred in my heart. Only when you enter the mountain can you better appreciate the scale of the Tandu Royal Academy. The stone steps for climbing are carved from white marble, and each stone step has a different soul beast pattern. With exquisite craftsmanship, the sunset leaves uneven and swaying light red tree shadows on the stone steps, adding a bit of tranquility and uniqueness. Breathing the fresh air, everyone seemed to have walked into a world of plants. Yun Feng was the one who felt the most. After all, his martial soul is the Blue-Silver King, and there is an yin living in his body. He is extremely active in this mountain full of plants. Although they had this feeling when they entered the Xingdu Great Forest, it was not as obvious as it is now. And Tang San also felt it a little, but Tang San knew that this was because he had broken through the 30th level according to the calculation of soul power. After breaking through the 30th level, soul masters will have a more acute sense of energy with similar attributes to themselves. Tang San's martial soul, the blue-silver grass, is a plant-based martial soul. Therefore, in this world surrounded by plants, his martial soul will naturally become more sensitive. One of the important reasons why Yao Gang decided to bring the Shrek Seven Devils to the Tandu Royal Academy was because this was a high-level Soul Master Academy founded by the royal family of the Tandu Empire. The equipment in all aspects was the best, and for Soul Master training, although the external facilities were not decisive, they played an auxiliary role that could not be ignored. Among them, the most important one was the mimicry training ground for soul masters of various attributes. The so-called mimicry training ground refers to allowing soul masters to practice their martial spirits in the most suitable environment for themselves. Although this cannot be said to be twice the result with half the effort, it can play a very good auxiliary role. Chapter 202. The Dog Liquor Kin Ming. For example, in forests or places with many plants, it is suitable for Yun Feng and Tang San's blue-silver grass to practice plant-based martial spirits, while the atmosphere in the restaurant kitchen is suitable for Oscar's food-based martial spirit. As for beast soul masters, depending on their own martial spirits, being with similar animals will also help them practice. The specific auxiliary effect is closely related to the martial spirit of the soul master itself. Generally speaking, the stronger the martial spirit itself is and the greater the potential is, the more benefits will be obtained from practicing in a mimic environment. With the conditions of Shrek Academy, it is of course impossible to provide a full range of mimic training grounds, but Tandu Royal Academy is different. One of the important reasons why this academy covers a large area and is built outside Tandu City is because of the construction of mimic training grounds. As a comprehensive Soul Master Advanced Academy, various mimic training grounds need to be built in all directions. It's easy to say for plant-based soul masters and food-based soul masters, but it's not so easy to build mimic training grounds for various beast soul masters. It's impossible to build a mimic training ground for every kind of beast soul master. Even so, after classification, there are still nearly 100 different types of mimicry training grounds in Tandu Royal Academy. To use the advertisement of Tandu Royal Academy during enrollment, there is always one suitable for you. The air in the mountains is not only fresh, but also very humid. The refreshing feeling quickly made the Shrek Academy group forget their previous unhappiness. Sun Buiyu obviously did not want to mention those students. He simply introduced the scenery on the road to the Shrek Academy group along the way. The main campus of the academy is halfway up the mountain, and the mimicry areas are distributed on the mountain, at the foot of the mountain, and also by the lake. Yao Gang asked, "Teacher Sun, How many students are there in Tandu Royal Academy now? Sun Buiyu thought about it and replied directly, there are about 500 students. Basically all of them are children of nobles from the empire and affiliated kingdoms, and there are more than 50 teachers. In terms of teaching staff, it is enough, but, at this point, he shook his head helplessly. Everyone understood and did not ask. Everyone was a soul master, so this mountain road was naturally nothing, and soon they arrived at the halfway point of the mountain. The main campus of Tandu Royal Academy is made up of bungalows, which feels like a fortress. The outer wall is 5 meters high and bright yellow, which looks very beautiful. Even the top of the wall is covered with glazed tiles, which is particularly dazzling under the setting sun. Among the crowd, only Tang San's heart shrank when he saw the building here for the first time. The layout of this place is so similar to the original Tang sect. Thinking back to the past, he couldn't help himself for a long time. At this time, the sky had gradually darkened, as the colorful clouds in the distance gradually disappeared. Lights were lit in Tandu Royal Academy. Entering the academy, there were not many students. According to Sun Buiyu, most of the students were distributed in various mimicry areas for training, and there were not many people in the main campus. He took the Shrek Academy group directly to a reception room, asked everyone to wait, and hurried to find Qin Ming. What do you think of this place? Flanders asked several teachers. Sugarben Soul Master Xiaozhen smiled and said, very good, better than expected. I like the air here very much. Dao Wuji also nodded in agreement and said, Master's suggestion is indeed good. Although the students are a bit rubbish, this place is indeed a good choice for retirement. It is so close to Tandu City. It is very convenient in all aspects. Flanders laughed and said, it seems that we really want to retire here. After a while, accompanied by a burst of hurried footsteps, Qin Ming walked in quickly from outside with a happy face. Dean Flanders, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you. As he said, he hurriedly stepped forward to salute Flanders and several Shrek Academy teachers. He looked like a lackey. Flanders helped him up and smiled. Don't be so polite. Speaking of which, we will follow you in the future. Have you arranged everything here? Qin Ming nodded quickly. Don't worry, Dean. I have arranged everything. I have already made arrangements with the top management of Tandu Academy. They welcome all the teachers to join us, although they don't quite believe that the juniors and juniors are so strong. But the kids from the royal team have also proved that everything is fine. Let's do this. All the teachers and juniors have come from afar. You can take a rest today. I will arrange a place for you to stay. Tomorrow I will take you to meet the top management of the academy and finalize this matter. Qin Ming's arrangement satisfied Flanders. Qin Ming immediately took them to a courtyard on the west side of the main campus of Tandu Royal Academy. It was cleaned up here, and everyone had a separate room and a separate reception room. All the daily necessities were brand new. The whole courtyard was like a separate existence. The conditions in all aspects were much better than those of Shrek Academy. Not only the teachers were satisfied, but Mabai, Tang San and others were also very surprised. After all, when they were in Shrek Academy before, they had always seen young Feng and the girls living in palaces. Now that I have seen the beautiful building, I can't help but think to myself that this senior Qin Ming is really capable of doing things. Everything is arranged so well. Everything was arranged properly. Everyone gathered in the reception room. Qin Ming sat next to Flanders and asked the teachers earnestly, I wonder if all the teachers and junior students are satisfied. After I came back last time and finalized this matter with the college, after choosing, I still think this place is the most suitable. You can see the mountain view outside the yard, and you can also see the lake below. There is a separate road from here that leads directly to the foot of the mountain, and it is also convenient to go to Tandu City. Dao Wuji smiled and said, Qin Ming, you are really good. You have arranged it very well. Qin Ming shook his head and said directly, this is what I should do. It's getting late. I originally wanted to invite all the teachers and junior students to Tandu City and find a better place to welcome you, but it's a little late today, so just eat something in the college. After everything is settled tomorrow, I think the college will specially host a banquet for all the teachers. Flanders thought for a while and said slowly, Qin Ming, you also know that we don't care much about secular etiquette. so you don't have to bother too much. Qin Ming looked at Flanders with deep emotion in his eyes. Dean Flanders, without you and all the teachers, Qin Ming wouldn't be where he is today. Now I finally have the chance to give back, so how can I not do my best? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Qin Ming feels like a clown. The dinner was much more sumptuous than expected. Although it was done in a hurry, Qin Ming still tried his best to prepare the best dishes to entertain everyone. The meal ended when the stars were high in the sky. After traveling for so many days, the people of Shrek Academy finally arrived at the end of the road. They were a little tired and went back to their rooms to rest. There was no conversation that night. The next morning, Qin Ming came just after Yun Feng and Zhu Zuqing finished their sparring. He also asked the chef hired by the academy to bring a hot breakfast. Yun Feng, you got up so early? Qin Ming happened to see Yun Feng and Zhu Zuqing coming back side by side, and greeted them with a smile. Yun Feng laughed and said, "Senior, you are also early." Qin Ming stepped forward and patted Yun Feng's shoulder in a familiar manner, saying, "Among all the people in Shrek Academy, you are the one who impressed me the most. I really don't know how you have cultivated such skills at such a young age. You are much better than I was back then." Zhu Zuqing beside him was a little embarrassed when she heard Qin Ming's praise. "Is this a little better? You are only a Soul Emperor now, while Yun Feng is already a Soul King. It won't be long before you catch up." Yun Feng was smiling, showing off his effort. "You're flattering me," Qin Ming said seriously. "I'm speaking from my heart. I've been in Tandu Royal Academy for a few years, and I've seen many talented students, like Yutan and Zhuge Yan, who are also very talented. However, compared to you, they lack a certain quality. What impressed me most about you is not your mutated blue-silver grass martial spirit, but your hard work. In the Battle of Souls with Tan and his royal team, it's better to say that they lost to your hard work rather than your strength. In time, you will definitely become a top control-type soul master. After all, your information says that your innate soul power is only level 1. I can't believe how hard you've worked." After a pause, Qin Ming's eyes became scorching. "Being able to make your comrades exert their full strength is already a qualified control-type soul master, and being able to control the battlefield situation and defeat the strong with the weak is the potential of a top-level control-type soul master. The teachings of the college teachers are far beyond my reach. What I can teach you is the word confidence. No matter what the situation is, when you always maintain the belief that you will win when facing the enemy, then you can exert your strength to the greatest extent." At this point, Qin Ming patted Yun Feng's shoulder again. "Come on, junior brother. To be honest, I really want to see what level you can reach when you are 30 years old. I believe that you will definitely surpass me." After saying this, Zhu Zuqing couldn't help it anymore. He laughed directly and said directly to Qin Ming, "Senior, do you really not know Yun Feng's current age and strength? How old is Yun Feng now, and how old are you now? Isn't it a foregone conclusion that he will surpass you?" And Yun Feng didn't exert his full strength when he fought against the Tandu royal team. "What are you thinking about now?" Zhu Zuqing's words immediately embarrassed Qin Ming. After all, what Zhu Zuqing said was realistic. Lies don't hurt people. The truth is the sharpest knife. Zhu Zuqing's words were very realistic, making Qin Ming feel like a clown. In fact, Qin Ming didn't have any bad intentions, but he didn't want to be replaced so soon as the number 1 in Shrek Academy, so he ran to Yun Feng and said these things in the posture of a senior. But Zhu Zuqing was helped by Yun Feng several times. Now after hearing these words, it is natural that he can't stand it. Can everything touch Yun Feng? Of course, Zhu Zuqing didn't want to attract hatred for Yun Feng, but simply couldn't stand it. Although Qin Ming was a little unhappy, he didn't say anything after all. After all, this is the fact. After that, everyone in Shrek Academy got up one after another. While everyone was having breakfast, Qin Ming briefly introduced the personnel structure of Tandu Royal Academy. The students of Tandu Royal Academy are divided into 3 levels. The newly enrolled students and those with strength less than level 25 are in one level, called Tanwai level. There is another level between level 25 and level 30, which is Tanzai level. Above level 30, they enter the highest Tandu level. The 7 members of the royal team are all outstanding in the Tandu level, while those that the Shrek Academy met at the foot of the mountain the day before were all Tanwai level students. The grading of teachers is the same as that of students, but the requirements are higher. The soul power reaches level 40 for the Tandu Royal Academy, which is also the entry threshold for teachers in general high-level Soul Master Academies. In Tandu Academy, teachers above level 40 and below level 50 are Tanwai level teachers. Between level 50 and level 60, they are Tanzai level teachers, and above level 60, they are Tandu level teachers. For example, Sun Buayu, whom they met yesterday, is Tanzai level teacher at level 53, and Qin Ming has just become a Tandu level teacher. Because the Tandu Royal Academy is affiliated with the Tandu Empire royal family, the nominal dean is the current emperor of the Tandu Empire. Therefore, there is no dean in the academy. The teaching committee is composed of the 3 most qualified and strongest Tandu level teachers. The student senior level that Qin Ming refers to is it. All matters of the academy are decided by the education committee. Some important matters need to be reported to the Tandu Empire royal family. The Tandu Empire royal family attaches great importance to the academy. Although the Tandu Emperor has no time to take care of it, he will generally appoint a distinguished member of the royal family to be in charge of the affairs of the academy. For some important decisions, the education committee also needs to report to the higher authorities. At present, the 3 veteran teachers of the education committee of Tandu Royal Academy are all Soul Buo above level 80, and the teaching staff is extremely strong. There are as many as 8 Tandu level teachers. It is extremely rare in the entire Tandu Empire. After hearing what Qin Ming said, Flanders smiled and said, "So, we can all become Tandu level teachers?" Qin Ming smiled and said, "Of course." Tandu level teachers have a very high status in the academy. They usually only instruct Tandu level students, and the Tandu level students in the academy only account for 1/10 of the total number. The teaching work is very easy, but the salary is very high. In addition to the fact that all life inside the academy is taken care of by the academy, there are also an additional 3,000 gold soul coins as remuneration every month. If there are special circumstances, there will be other income or something like that. 3,000, that's extravagant. Flanders was once the dean. After all, although he was very concerned about this income issue, he never had the nerve to ask. When Qin Ming said the number of 3,000 gold soul coins, he couldn't help but be very satisfied, and the smile on his face suddenly became even more intense. The satisfaction with the Tandu Royal Academy naturally rose sharply. "Qin Ming, lead the way. Let's go meet the 3 seniors of the education committee." Yes. Chapter 204 Hao Wu's Identity. The Tandu Royal Academy's education committee is located in the center of the main campus of the academy. It is the largest building in the entire main campus. Although it is also a single-story building, the highest point is 10 meters high, and it looks a bit like the spirit hall. Hao Wu was worried all the way, and even found several excuses to leave, but they were all rejected by Flanders. Feng also saw Hao Wu's nervousness at this time. After thinking for a while, he took Hao Wu to a hidden place on the side. After letting Yan sense the surroundings and seeing that there was no one, he said seriously, "Hao Wu, I know what you are worried about." After hearing this, Hao Wu panicked and looked at Feng in front of her. She subconsciously wanted to say something, but she still couldn't say it. "You are a 100,000-year-old soul beast." Hao Wu was stunned and said casually and quickly, "How did you know?" Her eyes were already full of despair. Feng smiled, stretched out his hand and grabbed Hao Wu's shoulder, and then said, "Hao Wu, if you believe me, don't worry about it. I will help you cover up your aura, okay?" As he spoke, he leaned his head over and kissed Hao Wu on the forehead. Feeling the wetness of Feng's lips, Hao Wu's eyes suddenly turned red. She wanted to say something, but she knew that there was not enough time now, so she nodded decisively. "I know, I believe you, Yun Feng. A pair of eyes were full of love. Seeing this, Yun Feng also nodded, and asked Ta Hian to help Ah Wu cover up her own aura. The reason why Ah Hian's aura was not leaked now was because she had developed a new method under the situation where Yun Feng and he leaned over. With a thought, the soul power on his body floated directly to Ah Wu. Yun Feng didn't hesitate at all, hugged Ah Wu's head directly, and kissed her deeply. 3 minutes later, Yun Feng didn't let go until her red lips became moist. The aura on her body has been injected, so Ah Wu's current identity naturally doesn't need to worry about being exposed. After doing all this, Ah Wu was also stunned. Her pretty face was red, and she felt the residual heat on her lips, and her eyes were about to be drawn. I didn't expect that the solution was this way. She thought it was some other way, but the aura on her body really disappeared. After thinking about this, Ah Wu couldn't help but say thank you. After all, Yun Feng saved her life. Otherwise, if she went there, the 3 soul fighters would definitely be able to see her identity. This is something that doesn't even need to be thought about. After returning with Ah Wu, Flanders and others asked what was going on, and Yun Feng just smiled and explained, and then didn't continue. When they first arrived, everyone from Shrek Academy, whether teachers or Shrek people, came here under the leadership of Qin Ming. No matter how good the conditions are, this is not Shrek Academy after all. It is not a place that belongs to you, so naturally you can't be as free as before. Although Flanders always had a smile on his face, he felt a little bitter in his heart after being used to freedom for so many years. No matter how small Shrek Academy is, he is the dean. No matter how good Tandu Royal Academy is, it is not as friendly as his own home. However, Flanders' mood soon eased a lot. When they arrived at the door of the Tandu Royal Academy's education committee, the 3 old men had already been waiting there. Although the 3 old men were just standing there, they gave people a very special feeling, as if the 3 of them were the main campus of Tandu Royal Academy, and even the core of the entire academy. Even if they had a gentle smile on their faces, the special temperament of the strong could not be hidden. The 3 old men were all wearing black robes with some strange patterns embroidered on them with golden silk threads. This kind of robe was not exclusive to them. Instead, it was a custom-made dress that could only be received by soul masters above level 80 and with the title of Soul Buo from the Wuhan Hall, representing their status. It was second only to the red dress of titled Buo. Generally speaking, this kind of dress was rarely worn by Soul Buo and titled Buo. It represents not only status, but also solemnity. Only when dueling with opponents of the same level, or in extremely important occasions, will this kind of custom-made dress exclusively for Soul Buo appear. At this time, the 3 old men put on the dress, naturally not because they were going to duel, so it can only prove one thing, that they value the Shrek Academy. What's more, these 3 old men have personally come to the door of the education committee. Even if Flanders is more arrogant, he can't help but feel flattered in the face of this situation. He has always been a respectful person. How can he not express his respect when the other party shows such respect? Flanders quickened his pace and took a few steps forward. When he stopped, his hands were already crossed on his shoulders and he bent down slightly. Shrek Academy, Flanders, Wuhan Cat Eagle. Agility Attack System 78th Level 7 Ring Battle Soul Emperor, greets the senior. In the Soul Master world, such an action is the etiquette of the younger generation to greet the elder. Although Flanders was also over 50, he was not too polite to these 3 elders who were at least 80 years old. The elder in the middle of the 3 elders laughed, strode forward, and pulled down Flanders' hand on his shoulder. Dean Flanders, you are welcome. I have heard of you for a long time. It is a great honor for our school to have the teachers from Monster Academy come to give us guidance. I am the chairman of the Academic Affairs Council, Meng Shenji, Wuhan Haiyao, and an 86th Level 8th Ringed Soul Buo of the Control Department. Let me introduce myself to you. Meng Shenji was of medium build and very thin. He didn't seem to have much flesh on his body. When he spoke, his voice was a little shrill, but not unpleasant, giving people a very friendly feeling. His hair and beard were all white. Although he was thin, he was very energetic and his face was full of rosy glow. As he spoke, Meng Shenji pointed to the old man on his left and said, This is the second seat of the Academy's Education Committee, Beibeishan Solbuo, Wuhan Xinglu, and Defense Department's 85th Level 8th Ring Battle Solbuo. Beibeishan's body shape is exactly the opposite of Meng Shenji's. He is not tall but very fat. He is a standard 4 foot tall and has a 4 foot waist. He always has a gentle smile on his face, and the fat on his face trembles with his smile. After hearing Meng Shenji introduce himself, he smiled and nodded at Flanders. Meng Shenji pointed to the last told man and said, "This is the third seat of the Education Committee, Xilan Solbuo, Wuhan Tanking, and Control Department's 83 RD Level 8th Ring Instrument Solbuo." Among the three senior members of the Education Committee, Xilan looks the most normal in appearance, and his appearance is also very ordinary. Only the bright eyes that occasionally reveal when his eyes open and close give people a special feeling. Chapter 205 Test. Although Flanders already knew that they were all Solbuo level masters above level 80, he was still shocked when Meng Shenji introduced them. Especially among these three Solbuos, there were actually two control-type Solbuos. Everyone in the Soul Master world knows that although the attack of the strong attack type is fierce, the control type is the most difficult to deal with and the opponent that they are most reluctant to face. Unless they are restrained, it is difficult for a Soul Master of the same level to defeat the control type in a one-on-one situation. Flanders also hurriedly introduced several teachers of Shrek Academy. As for the Shrek people, after all, they are students, so he did not say much. But Flanders could see that the three senior members of the Education Committee seemed to be more interested in the Shrek 7 Devils than they were. Meng Shenji smiled and said, "Don't be polite, everyone. When you come here, it's like being at home. Come in." The Education Committee was not as luxurious as imagined. On the contrary, the interior of the place where these three Solbuos worked and lived was very simple. There were only necessary furnishings and some simple green plants to decorate it. Everyone sat down as host and guest. Because there were not many chairs in the teaching committee, everyone in Shrek could only stand behind teachers such as Flanders. At this time, everyone's eyes were somewhat excited. After all, there were three Solbuo level masters sitting in front of them. Of course, Yun Feng, Douluo, Ning Rong, and Zhuzuqin had to be excluded. Yun Feng was not cold at all. Wasn't he just a Solbuo? He had a system and would definitely reach this level later. Douluo was a little worried. Although Yun Feng said that he could conceal his own aura, he didn't know if it would be leaked. Ning Rong had two titled Luos at home, and both of them were extremely powerful. How could she be excited? As for Zhuzuqin, she was focused on improving her own strength and was not very interested in these things. In fact, Solbuos were not that bad, but the vision and psychological state of several people were different. In the entire Soul Master world, Soul Masters who could cultivate to this level were definitely rare, and they all had powerful strength. Even if they could not destroy the world, they could definitely move freely among thousands of troops. Meng Shenji asked the servants to bring tea and snacks, and glanced at the Shrek people standing there, and smiled. "I heard from Qin Ming that there is a child here who defeated our royal fighting team single-handedly. I am really surprised. Monster Academy is indeed a place where monsters gather. Qin Ming's achievements have already surprised me. I didn't expect that your academy could cultivate such an outstanding genius." Flanders did not deny it and took it shamelessly, but still pretended to smile bitterly and said, "Shrek Academy no longer exists." After hearing this, Meng Shenji also said seriously, "No, look at these children behind you. Their future achievements, as well as the achievements of Shrek Academy's previous graduates, will always belong to Shrek. Qin Ming has already made it very clear to us. It is our honor that you can come to our academy this time. Unless you teachers are willing, the academy will never assign any teaching tasks to you. Here, everything is free for everyone. If you need anything, just let me know. As long as it is within my authority, I can say it." After all, Flanders was also a strong man of more than 70 levels. Naturally, he could see the sincerity of the three Solbuos. It was definitely not fake. From this, it can be seen how eager they were to recruit talents. Without even any temptation, he chose to completely trust Qin Ming. The Solbuo Xilan, one of the three seats on the teaching committee, suddenly asked, I heard from Teacher Qin that among the students in your academy, there is a particularly outstanding multi-system genius soul master. I wonder who it is?" Although Yao Gang wanted to stand up and say that it was his disciple, but it was really shameless. Flanders smiled indifferently and said, "I don't dare to be a genius." Yunfeng agreed, walked out slowly from the Shrek crowd, and saluted the three-souled Luos. His superficial skills were extremely in place. "Hello, three teachers." Xylan smiled slightly, and the air around his body suddenly twisted slightly. No one else felt anything. But Yunfeng clearly found that the air around his body seemed to solidify, and a huge soul power wave rushed over, and his body was completely unable to move. This soul power is somewhat similar to his Blue Silver King soul power. Although it oppresses his body, Yunfeng can feel that there is no murderous aura in it. He understands that this is the other party testing his strength. At the moment, he did not speak, just looking at Xylan, while Yin continued to resist the invading power. Everyone in Shrek Academy naturally knew what Xylan Soul Buo was doing, but no one said anything. Xylan's test of Yunfeng was like an entrance examination. Flanders was even more eager for him to do so that the senior executives of the Tandu Royal Academy could see how outstanding the disciples they had trained were. Xylan's originally peaceful eyes gradually became surprised. He was so powerful that he immediately discovered that Yunfeng's soul power was about level 55. This proved that Qin Ming's praise for him was not flattery, and his plant-based soul power, which was the same as his own, was no problem. But what Xylan didn't understand was why this soul power of only level 55 was so difficult to deal with. You have to know that he is a soul Buo, and a soul Buo with a top-level plant-based martial soul. Shouldn't he crush him? Xylan felt through the soul power test that although Yunfeng's soul power was far less powerful than his own, it had a kind of endless tenacity. The greater the pressure he gave, the greater its elasticity. Moreover, Yunfeng's body's endurance seemed not to be what a level 55 soul master should have. Facing the pressure he gave, he did not show any pain. The pressure he gave should be just what a level 50 soul king could bear, but with some difficulty. How could he know that Yunfeng's body was not only transformed by soul rings and soul power, but also had an external soul bone more than ordinary soul masters? The human-faced demon spider soul bone was so domineering that it significantly transformed his body's strength, flexibility, agility, and other attributes. The most important thing was that since the age of 6, after getting Tang San's advice, Yunfeng had never stopped eating to supplement his body. At this time, even he himself did not know how powerful his body was. Otherwise, how could Yunfeng have the confidence? Moreover, the things he ate and the external soul bone 8 spider lance played a role not only on the surface, but also imperceptibly. The transformation was equally important. Chapter 206, Unparalleled Monster. The black robe on Xylan Soul Buo's body, which symbolized his status, fluttered without wind. Although he was just sitting there, Yunfeng could clearly feel that the pressure around his body was increasing bit by bit. This Soul Buo was very kind. In order to prevent Yunfeng from being unable to bear the sudden increase in strength, under his precise control, the soul power was only slowly increased. Once Yunfeng showed signs of being unable to bear it, he could immediately stop. Yunfeng naturally understood that this control-type Soul Buo was testing his strength. But Yunfeng really wanted to say something. Even if you use all your strength, he would not frown. After all, it is not him who is resisting, but Yin. As a former 100,000-year-old soul beast, even if it has not recovered now, but it is not something that others can suppress. At this time, Flanders and others looked at Yunfeng's body, and a touch of emotion flashed in their eyes. They knew that Yunfeng was no longer representing himself, but the entire Shrek Academy. Therefore, despite the increasing pressure around him, he still persisted and did not show any pain. If Yunfeng knew what they were thinking, he would probably laugh. After years of training, and countless trials and tests, Yunfeng's willpower is definitely not what a 13-year-old child can have. Besides, this little pressure is not enough for Yin to even look at. As the pressure he released became greater and greater, Tenfold Duo's island was more and more surprised. Was the person in front of him really a 13-year-old child? How could he not see that Yun Feng was using willpower and his own strength to resist the soul pressure he imposed? But until now, he had not been able to let this child release his martial soul. Yun Feng's excellence has far exceeded Xiaolin's expectations. Everyone has a competitive spirit, even Soul Duo is no exception. Competitiveness plus curiosity, facing the genius boy in front of him. Xiaolin couldn't help but want to see what the limit of this child can reach. Seeing Yun Feng nod slightly, Xiaolin's robe no longer fluctuated with the soul power, but quietly returned to normal. Seeing this scene, the other two soul Luos beside him could not help but be surprised. The three of them had been together for a long time, so they naturally understood how much soul power Xiaolin was outputting at this time. The two soul Luos could not help but reveal a look of worry in their eyes. Although they also knew that Xiaolin would definitely know his limits, it would not be good if he hurt the child in front of him. But soon, the worry in the eyes of the two soul Luos turned into surprise. Yun Feng's body stood there like a towering mountain. Although the pressure increased again, he still did not move a bit, and the expression on his face did not change at all. Not even the martial spirit was forced out. This was the thought that appeared in the minds of the three soul Luos at the same time. How is it possible? Xiaolin's heart trembled slightly. He knew very well how much soul power he had output. Even a soul emperor above level 60 would definitely use his martial spirit under the pressure of his soul power, and he would never be as calm as the boy in front of him. If the unchanged expression is still a manifestation of firm willpower, when the pressure reaches a certain level, it is not something that willpower can control. Generally speaking, if a low-level soul master can withstand the direct pressure of soul power brought by a high-level soul master and can persist to withstand the soul master equivalent to 2/3 of his own level, it is already quite outstanding. If he can persist to the extent that his soul power is equal to his own, then his willpower is extremely firm. But the prerequisite for these is to release the martial soul, and he must be a beast soul master. The beast martial soul is much more helpful to the soul master than the weapon martial soul. The advantage of the weapon martial soul is that it can be used as a weapon. From Kunming's introduction, these three soul Luos knew that Yun Feng was actually a weapon soul master. But why can a mere weapon soul master persist to the pressure of 10% of his own soul power, and not release his martial soul? This is simply incredible. As the soul power fluctuations in the air became increasingly intense, Flanders, Daowuji and others gradually became nervous, sat up straight, and stared at Yun Feng, fearing that something would happen. At this time, Yu Gang was also dumbfounded. What kind of monster did he miss? Yu Gang was able to calculate Yun Feng's limit based on the current situation. He hadn't even released his martial spirit yet, so it was not a sign of reaching his limit. It could even be said that he was still quite far from his limit. The pressure from the spirit power released by Xiaolin had increased from level 61 to level 66, followed by level 67, 68, and 69. When his pressure finally increased to around level 70, Yun Feng's face finally revealed a trace of pain. His expression slightly moved, and he raised his right hand with some difficulty. Blue light flashed, and the blue silver king rushed out of Yun Feng's palm like a blooming flower, floating in the air, forming a huge cage. Enveloping Yun Feng's body, the blue gold light was bright, and all the blue silver kings were swinging in the air. Every swing produced a special feeling. It was as if the air was also moving with it. Xiaolin Soul Duo felt it most clearly. When Yun Feng released the blue silver king, he felt a sense of relief, and was about to take back his spirit power and end this test. Yun Feng's blue-silver kings were arranged into this strange scene in front of him. The circular cage enveloped Yun Feng's body, and there was only a slight gap between each blue-silver king and the next one. With each gentle swing, Zilin was surprised to find that the pressure he brought was like applying pressure to a ball of elastic objects. With the light swing of the blue-silver king, the pressure he brought to Yun Feng was actually reduced a lot. To be precise, the pressure he brought to Yun Feng was relieved. There were so many magical things about this child, and the surprise on the faces of the three soul Luos gradually turned into surprise. In fact, Yun Feng had no choice. He was only a soul king. If he could withstand the pressure of the soul saint level, he would definitely be regarded as a monster. Yun Feng didn't want to be studied. So after a simple exchange with Ah Yin, he gave up directly. It was enough to show his strength to this extent. At least it could crush Qin Ming. After thinking about this, Yun Feng laughed a little maliciously, withdrew the blue-silver king outside and pretended to be panting. After a brief shock, the three-souled Luos gradually calmed down, but Qin Ming's psychological quality was obviously worse, and he still looked very excited. Captain Meng Shen breathed a sigh of relief. I really didn't expect that such a peerless monster would appear in our Soul Master world. I am so lucky to meet you all here today. Chapter 207. Kill all the movie kings and queens in an instant. Flanders also breathed a sigh of relief and sent a questioning look to Yao Gang. Yao Gang nodded gently to him, indicating that there would be no problem. Flanders then said to Meng Shenji, "We dare not take credit for Yun Feng's ability. This is his own ability. His own talent is also very outstanding. I dare to say that this is an unprecedented talent in the entire continent." In addition to Yun Feng, these 7 children are also geniuses in the history of our Shrek Academy. Not only Tang San, but everyone else also has his own talent. The reason why we chose to come to Tandu Royal Academy is that we don't want to bury the talents of these children. We hope that they can fully display their talents here through a better training environment. They are the last batch of students in Shrek Academy. As the dean, I really hope to see that they can all become titled Buo in the future, far exceeding my achievements. At this time, Flanders' eyes no longer had any cunning, and sincerity was revealed. After seeing this, Yun Feng really wanted to laugh for some reason. Flanders is still Flanders. Acting to this extent is really better than all the movie stars in the previous life. As expected, when Ma Hongjun and others listened to Flanders' words, they also had some special emotions in their hearts. They found that at this moment, Flanders seemed to have become older, and his back looked a bit lonely. Yes, as a dean, he had to take his disciples to another academy to practice. How could someone like Flanders, who was born arrogant, feel good? Although he never showed anything later, was his inner world really calm? Meng Shenji nodded to Flanders. "Dean Flanders, you can rest assured. Here, the 3 of us promise you that we will do our best to provide these children with the best training facilities and the best training environment. And we don't ask for anything else. Even if they don't want to represent Tandu Royal Academy in the future, it doesn't matter. Just imagine it. When one day, they stand at the top of the Soul Master world, they will have the words Tandu Royal Academy in their resumes. We will be very satisfied." Flanders stood up and bowed to the 3 soul fighters. "Thank you, 3 seniors." Looking at this scene, Yao Gang finally smiled, and thought to himself, Flanders, if I hadn't figured out the personalities of these 3 education committee members, how could I bring you here? No matter what happened in the past, in my heart, you are my eldest brother after all, and I certainly hope to see you have a more comfortable old age." The Tandu Royal Academy naturally had Meng Shenji as the leader, and the Shrek Academy naturally had Flanders. Due to the favorable conditions given by Meng Shenji, the 2 chatted more and more speculatively, and felt that they had met too late. Meng Shenji smiled and said, "Then this matter is settled. Teacher Qin, please arrange it." Qin Ming nodded and agreed. His eyes have always been following Yun Feng. In addition to surprise, he is more envious. He is also a genius, but his brilliance has been overshadowed by Yun Feng's absolute talent. When everyone in Shrek Academy was about to say goodbye and return to their own courtyard, footsteps suddenly came from outside. It sounded like 2 people. "Is Meng Shenji here?" The voice came from outside before the person arrived. This person's voice was loud and full of confidence, but there was a sense of superiority in his voice. Although it was not overbearing, it was definitely not humble and polite. Meng Shenji was stunned for a moment. He naturally knew who the owner of the voice was. He thought to himself, "Why is he here?" He quickly stood up and went out to greet him. The other 2 members of the education committee followed behind him, and their expressions seemed to have changed slightly. Soon, 3 people walked in from outside. One of them was seen by everyone in Shrek Academy. He was the young man who was kicked away by Daimabai yesterday at the foot of the mountain. At this time, the young man stood on the left, with a look of arrogance on his face, and his eyes showed strong hatred. Walking in the middle was an old man in gorgeous clothes. This person was wearing a yellow robe with a cluster of flowers embroidered on it, but it didn't look messy. His gray hair was neatly combed behind his head. He was of medium build, slightly fat, and had a handsome appearance. But his eyes looked a little small, which destroyed the overall feeling of his facial features. Standing with his hands behind his back, he didn't show any respect even when facing the 3 Douluo Education Committee members, but instead had a condescending feeling. When seeing these 3 people appear, the first feeling of everyone in Shrek Academy was to be shocked. It was not because of the appearance of these 3 people, but because of the person walking on the right side of the old man in gorgeous clothes. Before, whether it was Ningrong Narong, the weakest among the Shrek people, or Flanders, the dean of Shrek Academy and the strongest, only 2 footsteps were heard, but 3 people came in. What does this prove? Standing on the right side of the old man in gorgeous clothes is also an old man, but unlike the old man in gorgeous clothes, this man is thin and tall, looks like a javelin, his beard is dark green, and his eyes are more like emerald shining. The whole person gives people a sense of illusion, as if he is a phantom. You can't see his steps moving, but he always follows the old man in gorgeous clothes. This person has no expression on his face, or it can be said that his expression on his face is completely stiff. His cheeks are sunken, his hair is green and messy, and his clothes are just simple gray robes, which is in sharp contrast with the old man in gorgeous clothes next to him. This person's hands are tucked into the sleeves of his robe. He walked into the hall of the Education Committee with his eyes closed, without even looking at the people present. "My Lord Prince, why are you here?" Meng Shenji stepped forward and bowed slightly, saluting the old man in fancy clothes. But both he and the other 2 Douluo's eyes fell on the green man. Even they couldn't tell the depth of this man. The old man in fancy clothes smiled indifferently and glanced at everyone in Shrek Academy. The young man next to him was Zhu Beng, who hurriedly leaned over to the old man in fancy clothes and whispered something. The old man in fancy clothes then said, "What, do the 3 of you have guests here? Why don't you introduce them to me?" Meng Shenji frowned slightly. Although the other party was a prince, they should not be so rude even if he was a prince given their status in the Soul Master world. But this person was the person in charge of the academy in the royal family of the Tandu Empire, and they could not offend him. Meng Shenji smiled slightly and led the 3 people into the hall. At this time, everyone in Shrek Academy had already stood up. Meng Shenji also said enthusiastically, "Your Highness, let me introduce you to this, the president of Shrek Academy, Flanders." Chapter 208. Yu Gang is afraid of death. This time, you are here to discuss cooperation with us, Dean Flanders. This is His Royal Highness Prince Xuxing of the Tandu Empire. The Royal Academy is now under the jurisdiction of His Royal Highness. Although Flanders was not very fond of this high and mighty prince, he still bowed slightly and said, "Hello, Your Highness." Prince Xuxing did not even look at him, but said coldly, "Shrek Academy? I don't think I have heard of it. It should be a second-rate academy." Meng Shenji, how could you let these people of unknown origin come to our academy? Upon hearing this, everyone in Shrek Academy could not help but fly into a rage. Dao Wuji, who was standing next to Flanders, was about to explode, but was forcibly held down by Flanders. Meng Shenji's face changed. "Your Highness, you can't say that. Shrek Academy has trained countless outstanding soul masters. For example, our teacher Qin is from Shrek Academy. This time, Dean Flanders and all the teachers from Shrek Academy are willing to teach in our academy. They are all rare talents." Oh, when Prince Xuxing heard that Qin Ming was actually from Shrek Academy, his face looked better. He looked at Flanders and said, "Xiang Shenji, according to the rules of the academy, teachers should pass the assessment when they are hired. I wonder if these teachers have passed it?" Xiaolin beside Meng Shenji couldn't help but say, "Several teachers from Shrek Academy have the strength of Tandu-level teachers. There is no need for assessment." "Your Highness, are you here today just for this matter?" His words were obviously a bit impolite. Prince Xuxing snorted coldly. "Tandu Royal Academy is the pillar of the empire and the place where the empire is trained. As a teacher in the academy, I have a huge influence on the students. I don't want the academy to hire some arrogant people. I heard from Zhu Beng that these distinguished guests beat him up as soon as they arrived at the academy yesterday. Zhu Beng is the fourth prince of the empire and represents the dignity of the royal family. How can he be easily humiliated? Meng Shenji and the other two finally understood why Prince Zhu Xing came here. They looked at the fourth Prince Zhu Beng, who was staring at Dime Bai with hatred. The three of them couldn't help but sigh secretly. It was because of these brain-dead nobles that Tandu Royal Academy could not cultivate more outstanding talents. Flanders said calmly, "Then how does His Royal Highness want to solve this matter? I wonder if you have asked His Royal Highness Prince Zhu Beng why he was beaten?" Soul Master is the noblest profession in the Yuo continent. High-level Soul Masters don't take nobles seriously at all. Flanders himself was a rebellious person. If it wasn't for the fact that these old brothers who had followed him for many years would have a good future, he would have exploded when Prince Xuxing said the first sentence against Shrek Academy. Prince Xuxing snorted coldly. "This king has always been kind to talents. Since you are here to seek cooperation with our Tandu Royal Academy, Zhu Beng was also wrong yesterday. Let's just let this go." But, at this point, his eyes swept over Flanders and the teachers of Shrek Academy. "You must prove to me that you are indeed talented." Zhu Beng, who was standing next to Prince Xuxing, was already very proud. Flanders suppressed his anger. "Okay, then how does the prince want us to prove it?" Prince Xuxing smiled calmly and said, "It's very simple. As long as you can hold on for 5 minutes in Mr. Jugu's hands, I will recognize you as talented people and treat you well. Otherwise, just follow what Zhu Beng said yesterday and get out of here immediately." Dime Bai was furious and wanted to rush forward. At this moment, the green old man next to Prince Xuxing opened his eyes. His eyes fell on Dime Bai. The moment he opened his eyes, the temperature in the entire education committee hall seemed to drop a few degrees. Those were a pair of dark green eyes, eyes without the slightest breath of life, revealing not only coldness, but also cold evil. Dime Bai groaned. His whole body trembled violently, and he fell to the ground silently and motionless. Not only Yun Feng, but also everyone else admired Dime Bai at this time. "You, a prince of the Xingyuo Empire, dare to be so awesome in the Tandu Empire. Does your father know?" Even if he didn't know Jugubo's identity, but to attack a prince, Yun Feng could only say, "Wonderful, wonderful." A long green vine stretched out like lightning, wrapped around Dime Bai's waist, and forcibly pulled him back. It was the Azure Ivy Soul Buo's Island Sanxi who made the move. "Your Highness, don't go too far," Meng Shenji said angrily. Prince Xuxing said calmly, "How did I go too far?" "Meng Shenji, don't forget that the academy belongs to the royal family. As the direct manager, I have the right to decide on personnel. If you are dissatisfied, you can go to complain to His Majesty, but before His Majesty removes me from my position, I still have the final say here." Meng Shenji was so angry that his hair and beard were all erected and he couldn't speak. The green light shone and entered Dime Bai's body. Dime Bai was wrapped in the green light and woke up. The whole person's eyes were full of fear and confusion. In the previous moment, he just felt his whole body cold and knew nothing, let alone attack. There was no chance to resist at all. Prince Xuxing turned to the right side of his body. He was very arrogant in front of the 3 education committee members and the people of Shrek Academy, but he was respectful to the green old man beside him. "Mr. Jugu, please." The green old man looked at the people of Shrek Academy in front of him. "Prove yourself with your strength. Come on." As he spoke, a layer of strong green light suddenly released from him, and then, circles of halos rose from his feet one after another, but his own body did not change at all. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. A total of 9 soul rings swirled up, and the dazzling light made the entire education committee hall become dazzling. The faces of the people of Shrek Academy changed, and the faces of the 3 education committee members also changed. No one expected that this green old man who looked unkempt was actually one of the top fearless masters on the continent today, a titled Buo with a soul power of more than level 90, not to mention the people of Shrek Academy. Even the three-souled Luos above level 80 have no confidence in being able to fight against him. Although the souled Buo and the titled Buo are only one level apart in terms of title, their strengths are worlds apart. The higher the level, the greater the gap between levels. Although the last 5 soul rings on the green old man are all black, everyone knows that the later the soul rings, the closer they are to 100,000 years. His last soul ring is conservatively estimated to be produced by a soul beast of more than 70,000 years. Chapter 209, Flanders. Let's go. From the aura of the green old man, it can be felt that he is a titled Buo with a beast spirit. However, when he released his spirit at this time, his body did not change at all, which further proved his horror. Only the top spirit masters at the level of titled Buo can control their spirits to such a degree. Your surname is Jugut, and you have a strong fishy smell. If I guess correctly, you should be the poison Buo Jugubo, the senior of the poison Buo with the title of poison. Yun Feng took a step forward, blocking the angry teachers of Shrek Academy, and said to the green old man, "Ha ha ha." The green old man laughed strangely. "I didn't expect that someone would remember me." "Good boy, I am Jugubo. Since you know my name, why don't you get out?" Yun Feng's face was still calm at this time. Just when he was about to say something, Yu Gang jumped out and said quickly, "Okay, let's get out, Flanders, let's get out." After that, he pulled Flanders out with one hand. Flanders struggled hard and broke free from Yu Gang's hand, his eyes flashing with coldness. "Yu Gang, I can't let Shrek suffer this humiliation." Yu Gang was already scared and anxious, and after hearing what Flanders said, he was even more angry. "You are not afraid of death. Do you want everyone to die with you? How can you compete with a titled Buo? If you were also a titled Buo, you could also let people go, but you are not. Even if we old guys are not afraid of death, do you want the children to go to destruction with us?" Poisoned Buo is the most poisonous in the world. Do you think he is only targeting you when he attacks? After saying this, Yu Gang turned to the three-souled Buo Education Committee. "I'm sorry, 3 seniors, today's matter is over, but we will never forget your warm hospitality, and we will see you later." Yun Feng was about to say something, but after Yu Gang appeared, he was instantly stuck. In fact, he didn't have to leave at all. As long as Yun Feng could help Jugubo detoxify, everything would be solved. "Wait a minute." Meng Shenji's eyes shone fiercely, staring at the poison Buo with 9 rings shining on his body. "Jugubo, let us 3 old guys experience your poison." Tanxinlu sold Buo Bei Ashan and Tanqin sold Buo's Island came behind Meng Shenji respectively. The 3 of them released a strong aura at the same time. Meng Shenji's body instantly became illusory, and the whole person turned into a dark shadow. The black mist rose from his feet, and 2 yellow, 3 purple, and 3 black, 8 soul rings bloomed at the same time. The gap between the 2 sides can be seen from the soul rings. The 5th soul ring of poisoned Buo Jugubo is already at the 10,000-year level, while Meng Shenji's 5th soul ring is still 1,000 years. In the palm of Tanxinglu soul Buo Bei Ashan, a golden tripod furnace appeared, with a total of 7 silver stars on it, shining. As the soul ring of the same quality as Meng Shenji shone, a condensed and heavy aura spread throughout his body. Only one vine appeared on Xylin, the Azure Ivy soul Buo, but the color of the vine was as crystal as jade, and a faint green gas was released from his body, spreading all over his body. At this time, everyone on the Shrek Academy side had a very ugly face. However, no one noticed that Zhao Wu, who was standing at the back, was trying her best to restrain her breath, and her face had already looked a little pale. She had started to do this since Prince Xuxing and the other 2 entered here. It's just that no one has noticed her. Her eyes had turned red unconsciously. Only Yun Feng smiled and stroked Zhao Wu's hair with his hand, his eyes full of gentleness. He signaled Zhao Wu not to worry. Her breath had been covered up. After Zhao Wu saw Yun Feng's action, although she was still quite scared in her heart, she still relaxed a lot because of her trust in Yun Feng. It was not until she saw that Jugubo had no reaction at all that she felt relieved. The confrontation between the 3 souled Luos and a titled Buo made the atmosphere in the entire education committee hall extremely solemn. The auras of the 3 souled Luos protected the people of Shrek Academy behind them, and poisoned Duo Jugubo naturally blocked the pressure for Prince Xuxing and the fourth Prince Zhu Beng. As the battle was about to break out, Jugubo was extremely powerful, but he did not dare to be careless in the face of the three-souled Luos. His dark green eyes finally revealed a bit of solemnity. Three members of the education committee. What are you doing? Prince Xuxing said angrily. He was already a little regretful at this time. After all, these three members of the education committee were all strong men above level 80, and they were highly valued by Emperor Tandu. If a fight really broke out and something went wrong, he would not be able to bear it. Prince Xuxing, you insist on doing it yourself. After today, the three of us will go to His Majesty to impeach him and let His Majesty judge. Meng Shenji was really angry. The people of Shrek Academy gave him a good impression, especially Yun Feng, who surprised them very much. How could he not be angry when he saw that the cooperation that would be of great benefit to the Tandu Royal Academy was about to be shattered? In terms of age, even the titled Duo Jugubo was not as old as him. At this moment, the chair of the education committee was really angry and no longer cared about the consequences. For him, the current situation was not just a question of whether the people of Shrek Academy would stay or go, but also related to the face of the three-souled Luos. Of course, the surprise brought by Yun Feng before also played an important role as a catalyst. Forget it. Flanders sighed in his heart, and his clenched fists slowly loosened. His eyes hidden under the crystal glasses became calm again. He bowed slightly to the three-souled Luos. I didn't expect that I would bring such trouble to the three seniors this time. Flanders is ashamed. Since Tandu Royal Academy doesn't want to keep us, how can we ask for it? Even if we miss today, I'm afraid we won't have peace. Three seniors, let's say goodbye. Flanders will visit again someday. Flanders is no longer the impulsive young man. Naturally, he understands that the arm cannot twist the thigh. Since the Prince of Snowstar is already hostile to him, staying will only cause trouble. Although Tandu Royal Academy is good, it is not a place to stay for a long time. This time in the Great Fighting Spirit Arena, there are also many profits. Going back to reopen Shrek Academy will be enough to support it for a long time. Dean Flanders, Meng Shenji shouted anxiously. Flanders did not turn around, leading the Shrek people, striding out. When the Shrek people passed by the fourth Prince Zhu Beng, they clearly saw the gloating expression in his eyes, and the Prince of Snowstar raised his head high, as if he couldn't see Flanders and his group. The faces of the three-souled Luos turned red and white, and they were obviously extremely angry. But what could they do at this time? After all, this place belonged to the royal family of the Tandu Empire. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Jugubo. He forced a genius away? At this moment, a cute girl ran in from outside. Grandpa. As soon as she entered the door, she rushed straight to Jugubo, who was standing there with 9 rings shining on his body. Jugubo, who had a gloomy face before, saw her, and his expression suddenly softened. He stretched out his hand to hug the girl and laughed. Yanyan, well, not bad. Your strength has improved again. Everyone in Shrek knew this girl. She was the control-type soul master of the royal fighting team who had fought with them in the Soto Grand fighting arena last time. Juguyan. They saw Juguyan, and Juguyan, who had thrown herself into Grandpa's arms, naturally saw them. When her eyes fell on Yun Feng, her face changed obviously, and it was obvious that she had not forgotten the scene of the previous fight. She hugged Jugubo's neck and whispered something in his ear. When Qin Ming came back, he told them in detail the ages of everyone in Shrek to stimulate the royal fighting team members to practice. Juguyan asked Yun Feng in great detail. She came here just to see who was the arrogant guy who defeated her, but she didn't expect to see her grandfather. Although Yun Feng was wearing a mask during the battle, his figure and eyes could not be changed, so she naturally recognized him at a glance. I just didn't expect Yun Feng to be so handsome. When Jugubo looked up again, everyone in Shrek Academy had already walked out of the education committee hall. His eyes stayed on Yun Feng's back for a while, and his lips moved slightly, as if he was saying something to Zhuge Yan. A smile suddenly appeared on Zhuge Yan's face, and she melted into Zhuge Bo's arms coquettishly. However, her interest in Yun Feng was not small at all. Such a genius, I have never seen before. And at this time, a voice suddenly sounded. 3 education committee members, I'm sorry, I think I have to leave the academy too. The speaker was Qin Ming, and his face was full of grief and indignation at this time. The teacher was humiliated, but he did not have the strength to erase this humiliation. This was such a painful thing, but no matter what, he would not allow himself to stay. No matter how good the treatment here is, in his heart, it will never be as good as the starting point, Shrek Academy. Obviously, it has been completely pooah. The 3 teaching committee members were shocked at the same time, and even the Prince of Xuxing was stunned. Qin Ming's status in the Royal Academy is actually much higher than what Flanders and others know. It can be said that he is second only to the 3 teaching committee members. After all, he is one of the youngest people who have reached level 60 in the records of the Spirit Hall so far. He is definitely a rare talent. The 3 teaching committee members have always been sure that Qin Ming will become another titled Buo before he is 60 years old. The appearance of a titled Buo is not only of great significance to an academy, but also extremely important to the entire Tandu Empire. At this moment, Prince Xuxing finally regretted it in his heart and frowned. But at this time, he naturally wouldn't say anything, otherwise wouldn't he be slapping himself in the face. Meng Shenji hurriedly stepped forward and stopped Qin Ming. Teacher Qin, how can this be done? Let's discuss this matter carefully first. We will report today's incident to His Majesty and ask His Majesty to uphold justice. Qin Ming shook his head, with determination in his eyes, and said lightly, this is Tandu Royal Academy. After all, it belongs to the royal family. Since the royal family hates people from our Shrek Academy, how can Qin Ming have the face to stay? Qin Ming appreciates the kindness of the 3 education committee members. When Qin Ming came here, he was alone, and today he is leaving. He is still alone. The 3 education committee members, please take care of yourselves. Qin Ming will remember your care over the years and will repay you one day. Goodbye. He did not give the 3 education committee members a chance to retain him. He activated his soul power, and with a flash of his figure, he followed the footsteps of the Shrek people out of the education committee hall. Meng Shenji stamped his feet and yelled at Prince Xuxing, Your Highness, you are confused. Do you know what kind of talents those people were just now? You. At this time, the chi rushed up, and the soul power on his body fluctuated unsteadily. Prince Xuxing said calmly, It has come to this point, and there is no point in saying more. If the 3 of you are willing to complain to His Majesty, I have nothing to say. Goodbye. After saying that, he also walked outside with Zhu Beng, but did not greet Zhuge Bo. Zhuge Bo did not seem to be in a hurry to leave, and glanced at the 3 education committee members. What's there to keep a group of spirit masters who are not even at level 80? You 3 are really old. Meng Shenji was angry. He didn't care whether Zhuge Bo was a titled Buo or not. He said directly, What do you know? Yes, none of them has reached level 80, but do you know how great their potential is? Perhaps, in a few decades, there will be several titled Luos among those people just now. What Prince Xuxing did today is pushing the empire into the abyss. Don't you think that what happened today will not cause resentment from others? Zhuge Bo snorted. What does this have to do with me? I just came to repay Prince Xuxing's favor. Yanyan, Grandpa is leaving. You should study hard here. After hearing what her grandfather said, Zhuge Yan thought about it and said something. Grandpa, Yun Feng's strength is not simple. It's better not to make enemies with him. He is now a Soul King and he is only 13 years old. After Zhuge Yan said this, Zhuge Bo was stunned for a moment. He slowly turned his body and looked at Meng Shenji and others, and asked directly, Really? Really? After seeing the exact answer, Zhuge Bo obviously didn't know what to say. He forced a genius away? And it was a genius that only appears once in 10,000 years. Thinking of what he had done, Zhuge Yan's eyes suddenly showed a trace of murderous intent. After Zhuge Yan noticed the change in his grandfather, he hurriedly said, Grandpa, You must not think about anything else. Ning Rong is his girlfriend. If you kill Yun Feng, there is no guarantee that the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect will not go crazy. Grandpa, you can handle it, but I can't withstand the attack of the two-titled Buo of the Seven Treasures Glazed Tile sect. After Zhuge Yan said this, Zhuge Bo calmed down instantly. Since he couldn't be killed, and the man on the other side was a genius, did he have to apologize? After all, he was also a titled Buo. No, this wouldn't do. Zhuge Bo was in a dilemma now. Prince Xuxing led Zhu Beng out of the Education Committee Hall, and his face darkened as he walked forward. Zhu Beng, you've caused a lot of trouble for your uncle this time. I'm afraid those three old guys won't let this go. Zhu Beng smiled and said, Uncle, thank you so much for what you did today. You've also seen how arrogant the people from Shrek Academy are. If they stay in the academy, they'll cause trouble sooner or later. Chapter 211. Moral Blackmail. All played in one trick. Prince Xuxing said calmly, forget it. It's already come to this point. There's no point in saying more. Remember, if your father asks, you should say that they beat you first. If it wasn't for weakening your eldest brother's strength, do you think I would easily offend so many soul masters? Zhu Beng, you have to work hard. Otherwise, when you fight for the throne in the future, even if your uncle wants to help you, I'm afraid he can't help you. The three education committee members are very important in your father's heart, but it's a pity that they are your eldest brother's people. It seems like a farce, but it contains many profound meanings. How could this Prince Xuxing be just an impulsive person? No one in the Shrek Academy spoke during the process of going down the mountain. Qin Ming quickly followed and just walked behind Flanders without saying a word, but from his livid face, you can see how bad his mood is now. After going down the mountain, I saw the clear lake at the foot of the mountain again, but at this time, no one in Shrek was in the mood to appreciate the scenery. Dean, why don't we make Shrek Academy bigger? It was Daima Bai who spoke. Flanders stopped and looked up at the sky. Although the sun was bright today, his heart was a little cold at this moment. Daima Bai said seriously, I can understand that you have been unwilling to accept sponsorship from students, but at this time, even if we are just trying to prove ourselves, we can't just give up. Don't worry, I won't use my family's money to sponsor the academy. We are a member of Shrek, so we should naturally do something for our Shrek Academy. We can participate in the soul fighting competition. With the current level of the Golden Soul Fighting Team, we can definitely bring enough income to the academy. Let's make the academy bigger. One day, we will make Dandu Royal Academy regret what we did today. Daima Bai's words, without exception, tied everyone into Shrek without considering the feelings of others. It was as if it should be so. Moral kidnapping, playing a set of tricks. When Yun Feng saw this scene, although Daima Bai was hopeless, he didn't want to. Just when he was about to say something, Yu Gang sighed in a pretentious manner at this time, raised his hand and grabbed Flanders' shoulders. Flender, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Flender shook his head. It has nothing to do with you. It's just our bad luck. I don't know why, but I don't feel like reopening the academy. Maybe it's because I'm too tired these years. Dao Wuji asked, then what should we do now? After saying this, Ning Rong's eyes lit up instantly, and she said to everyone, why don't we just disband it? There's no academy anyway. After saying this, Flender and Yu Gang were suddenly as if they had eaten a big ball of food. It can be said that they were extremely uncomfortable. If they disbanded, what would they do? Their ideals have not yet been realized. If they disbanded so easily, do they still want to play? But Ning Rong didn't pay any attention to the expressions of Flender and Yu Gang, and still said to Yun Feng, Zhuzuking and Zhao Wu with great excitement, Yun Feng, what do you think? After hearing this, Flender and Yu Gang became even more nervous. There was already a trace of pleading in their eyes when they looked at Yun Feng. I'm not kidding. This is too important for them. If Yun Feng leaves, Dao Wu, Ning Rong and Zhuzuking will definitely leave too. As a teacher, Yu Gang naturally knows the character of his students. If Dao Wu leaves, he will definitely not continue to follow him here. What will he use to prove himself? What will he use to participate in the Soul Master competition? Wouldn't all these years of hard work be in vain? After thinking of this, the two stood up instantly and said directly, no, I don't agree. If Tandu Royal Academy doesn't accept us, can't we go somewhere else? After hearing this, Ning Rong curled her lips and looked at Flanders and said bluntly, although I am not afraid of these people from Tandu Royal Academy, they don't accept you, Dean Flanders. Have you ever thought about your own reasons? You know that the students of Tandu Royal Academy are either rich or noble, but you still have such a high-handed attitude. Who are you showing it to? I just can't figure it out. For the so-called dignity, you don't care about anything. Do you have the nerve to say this now? Flanders immediately suffered a 10,000 point critical hit. Dima Bai wanted to say something, but after being looked at by Yun Feng, he shrank back. He was not afraid of other people, but he was extremely afraid of Tang San and Yun Feng, especially what Yun Feng said now. If you dare to touch Wrong, I promise you will stay here lying down, and this place is not far from the Seven Treasures glazed tile sect. Dima Bai shook his head hurriedly to prove that he was harmless. After seeing Dima Bai like this, Yun Feng didn't say anything more. As for the issue of whether Flanders and others would stay or go, Yun Feng didn't care much. In his opinion, as long as he could get advice and suggestions, it didn't matter where he went. Ning Rong looked at Yun Feng at this time and said directly, why don't you go to my castle? It's not far from our Seven Treasures glazed tile sect. Hearing what Ning Rong said, before Yun Feng said anything, Flanders shook his head. Forget it. I don't want to feel the feeling of living under someone else's roof anymore. Wrong, thank you for your kindness. Ning Rong was anxious, and she looked at Flanders and said directly, no, how shameless are you? I didn't ask you to go to my house. I remember clearly what you did to me before. Yun Feng almost laughed out loud after hearing this. Ning Rong is still the same Ning Rong. The nature of the little witch will not change so easily. At least with Yun Feng's intervention, Flanders' previous plan was ruined. And even if you can't join, I can. What about Poison Buo? I just need to call my Sword Grandpa and Bone Grandpa, and I can beat him to the ground. When Ning Rong said this, she was full of confidence. Jugubo, who was hiding in the dark, was shocked. After all, he really couldn't beat Sword Buo and Bone Luo. This is a fact, there is nothing to refute. Flanders also knew that he couldn't get any good from Ning Rong, so he didn't say anything else, but fell silent. After a while, Yun Feng still smiled and said, okay, Wrong, don't provoke him. Why don't we find a new academy? Seeing Yun Feng said so, Ning Rong just curled her lips and didn't continue. Flanders' scattered eyes gradually gathered. He knew that his decision now was not only related to himself, but also to the teachers of Shrek Academy and the children in front of him. After seeing that Yun Feng had no intention of leaving, he looked at Yun Feng gratefully, then he gathered his mood and regained the demeanor of a dean. How about this? Since we have come from afar, let's take a rest in Tandu Empire. As for the next move, we will talk about it later. Chapter 212. It's decided. Capture Liu Ralong. At this moment, Qin Ming suddenly stepped forward and knelt down in front of Flanders and others. Dean, I'm sorry. Please punish me. Flanders hurriedly helped him up. Qin Ming, what are you doing? How could I not know your feelings for Shrek? The fact that you can go with us is enough to prove that you have always put Shrek Academy in the most important position. That's enough. I should be sorry. We ruined your future. Qin Ming smiled bitterly. Future? If it weren't for the teachings of the teachers, how could I have a future? I have hands and feet. Can't I survive if I leave Tandu Academy? I will take everyone to Tandu City. In fact, I agree with what Dai said just now. I think we should reopen Shrek Academy. Dean, Shrek Academy will always be our home. None of us wants to see it end like this. If you really feel tired, we can help you support the academy. Flanders nodded and looked at the other teachers. Let's go. Let's go to Tandu City to find a place to stay. It was indeed very close from Tandu Royal Academy to Tandu City. The group walked with a depressed mood for a short time before they arrived at the capital of the Tandu Empire. From a distance, they could already see the city with flags flying. As one of the two largest and most prosperous cities on the continent, the city wall of Tandu City was as high as 100 meters, all of which were repaired with the hardest granite. On the city and below, The patrolling soldiers were all in full armor and holding spears. The murderous aura they exuded could show their toughness. The tall city gate was 10 meters high and 10 meters wide, enough for 6 horses to ride side by side. There were 2 secondary gates next to it, which were also 5 meters high and wide. Passers-by could only enter through the secondary gates, and the main gate in the middle was closed. The Shrek Academy group came to the outside of the city gate. Just as everyone was about to enter the city, they saw a huge notice on the bulletin board next to the city gate. Wanted, Blue Tyrant High-Level Soul Master Academy, due to its own expansion, is now looking for the following personnel. 10 Soul Masters above level 40. Those with higher soul power will be given priority, and once hired, the treatment will be preferential. Seeing this news, Flanders was a little surprised and said, "How come the advertisement of this academy is posted on the city gate bulletin board? How much does it cost?" At this time, his mood had recovered a little, and his stingy surname reappeared. When young Feng saw this, he thought of a fun thing, combining Yin's mental power. Can he use his 5th soul skill to affect Liu Rilong? If Liu Rilong can be taken down, Yu Gang and Flanders don't know what kind of reaction it will be. After thinking of this, Yun Feng instantly began to laugh in his heart. Decision: take down Liu Rilong. Qin Ming was most familiar with the situation in the capital of the Tandu Empire, and hurriedly said, "The high-level Soul Master Academies that can be opened in Tandu City must have a certain background. I don't know what the background of this Blue Tyrant Academy is, but in the Tandu Capital Circle qualifiers of the last all-continent high-level Soul Master Academy competition, it was this academy that eliminated one of the 2 participating teams of the Tandu Royal Academy. However, this year's batch of students from the Blue Tyrant Academy should have graduated, and the strength of the royal team of the Tandu Academy this year is much stronger than that of the last high-level Soul Master Academy competition. I guess they don't have much chance this time." Flanders pretended to ask, "What is the scale of this Blue Tyrant Academy?" Qin Ming thought about it and said, "It's about 1/3 the size of the Tandu Royal Academy. Although the scale is smaller, they are opened in Tandu City, and the expenses are not less than those of the Tandu Royal Academy. But they don't have a royal background. I heard that the teaching of this academy is very rigorous, and it has a characteristic that it only accepts civilian students and rejects all nobles. If it doesn't have a background, it will never be able to gain a foothold in Tandu City." Flanders' eyes showed a trace of revenge. Who said that Blue Tyrant Academy didn't have the capital to compete with Tandu Royal Academy in this Soul Master Academy competition? Soon, they will have it. Qin Ming was stunned. "Dean, you mean?" Flanders sighed and said, "I have thought it through very clearly on the way just now. Our original Shrek Academy does not have the qualifications of a real high-level Soul Master Academy. It is not easy to reopen it. There are too many problems to deal with. I am old, and I can't let so many older brothers suffer for my illusory ideals. Since this Blue Tyrant Academy is not bad, let's go and take a look. Besides, it is definitely not my style to not avenge today's humiliation. What do you think?" The last sentence was said to the other teachers in the Shrek 7 Devils. Dao Wuji laughed and said, "You are the boss. You make the decision. Do you still need to ask us?" Ning Rong and the other girls did not respond, but Tang San, Daimabai and others said in unison, "It's all up to the dean." Flanders smiled slightly and said, "If it still doesn't work here, we can go back and reopen the academy. Let's go and take a look first." At this time, a cunning light flashed in the depths of Flanders' eyes. Only Yun Feng noticed this scene. He couldn't help but sigh that even if he didn't take action, Flanders couldn't change his nature. He still wanted to be a green-haired turtle. According to the address on the bulletin board, everyone walked into Tandu City. There was no need to ask. With Qin Ming as a guide, they walked through the streets and alleys and soon found the destination of this trip. Tandu City is extremely prosperous. All the streets are paved with blue bricks. Any street is as wide as the main road of Soto City. The scale of the entire city can only be described as magnificent. The gatehouse of Lanba Academy looked similar to the gatehouse of Tian City. Although it was much thinner, the entrance of the gatehouse was 10 meters high. Although the gatehouse carved from white marble was not gorgeous, it was very imposing. There were 8 large gold-plated characters on the gatehouse, Lanba Advanced Soul Master Academy. As soon as he arrived at the entrance of Lanba Academy, Qin Ming immediately found the reception desk next to the gate, which read Recruitment Registration Office. Are you all here to sign up to be teachers at the academy? The person in charge of the reception was a middle-aged soul master who looked to be in his 40s. His questions were mainly directed at the students of Shrek. After all, these children were only in their teens. Flanders shook his head and said, "No, we are the ones who signed up, and these children are our disciples. If we can be successfully employed here, our disciples also hope to be able to study in the academy." The reception teacher said, "Students also need to be assessed before they can enroll. How about this, all soul masters? Accept our test first. If you can become a teacher in the academy, I think your disciples can also enter the academy to attend classes. After all, the registration period for new students has passed, and your disciples are a little younger." Chapter 213 Blue Tyrant. Generally speaking, even an outstanding soul master must be at least 16 to 18 years old to enter the high-level soul master academy. The general situation is 20 years old. Yun Feng and the others don't look like they are 18 years old. No problem with the test. Where is it? The reception teacher has been waiting here for several days, and there are very few soul masters who come to register. After all, the treatment of being a teacher in a soul master academy cannot be compared with relying on a big family. That is the best way out for high-level soul masters. And there are at least 7 teachers who come to register at this time. How can he not pay attention to them? He hurriedly said, "I will take you to take the test." Walking into Lanba Academy, it feels quite different from Tandu Royal Academy. Although there is no beautiful mountain scenery here like Tandu Royal Academy, everything gives people a very grand feeling. The spacious path leads directly to the interior, and there are patches of woods on both sides of the road. At the end, you can see a large playground with a diameter of more than 200 meters, surrounded by a circle of 3-story buildings. The reception teacher introduced to everyone that in these 3-story buildings, there are places for simulated environment training, student dormitories, and teaching buildings. If Tandu Royal Academy was built on the mountain, then this Lanba Academy was built in the middle of the forest. Because around the teaching building, the rest of the area is all forest. It is said that this is the largest flora in the entire Tandu city. There is such a forest in the city, just as Qin Ming said. Who dares to say that this Lanba Academy has no background? The reception teacher has been leading everyone to appointed building. This building looks like the most solid of all the buildings in the academy. Walking into it, it is an empty hall. There is no room separated inside. The transparent light shines into the room from the surrounding windows, making it extremely bright. The ground is paved with granite, and the walls are just whitewashed without any decoration. The reception teacher asked everyone to wait here and left. Not long after, a total of 3 soul masters came in from outside. These 3 people are also in their 40s, with ordinary looks, and there is nothing surprising. The same is the seriousness on their faces. The 3 walked to the inner side of the hall and stopped. The person in front of them said, "All the soul masters who are taking the test, please accept the evaluation one by one. Who will go first?" Everyone looked at Flanders. Flanders smiled slightly, waved to Qin Ming, and said, "Dao Ming, you go first." Qin Ming nodded, walked forward, and asked the 3 soul masters, "Excuse me, how to conduct the evaluation?" The soul master who spoke before said, "Please release your martial soul. As long as you are over level 40, then fight with one of the 3 of us. If you can last for 10 minutes, you will pass." The soul power level is naturally the most important. As long as the martial soul is released, it is clear at a glance what level and attribute the soul master is. As for fighting, it is a test of actual combat. After all, as a teacher, it is obviously not advisable if you don't have rich practical experience. Okay. Qin Ming was holding his breath today because of what happened at Tandu Royal Academy. At this moment, he did not restrain his breath at all and directly released his martial soul. In an instant, The air in the entire hall seemed to become heavy. The three Blue Tyrant Academy teachers standing opposite Qin Ming shook their bodies at the same time, and their faces showed horror. The three teachers in charge of the evaluation were all Soul King level Soul Masters of more than 50 levels. The opponent's martial spirit had just been released, and the momentum alone had oppressed them to react. This could only prove that the young Soul Master in front of them was more powerful than them. Then, a ball of yellow flames emerged from Qin Ming's body. With a low roar, the muscles under his clothes suddenly swelled, stretching the originally loose outer clothes tight. Both eyes turned yellow at the same time, and a total of 6 soul rings emerged from his feet at the same time, 2 yellow, 3 purple, and 1 black. Although it was not the best soul ring combination, the appearance of 6 soul rings at the same time still brought great shock to the 3 Blue Tyrant Academy teachers in front of him. Qin Ming said in a deep voice, 62nd level Fiery Wolf Battle Soul Emperor, Qin Ming. Strong attack system. As a martial spirit, wolves generally appear as cold attributes. Fire-attributed wolves like Qin Ming are mutants and extremely rare. Just as Flanders said, Shrek Academy only accepts monsters. If Qin Ming is not a monster, how could he enter Shrek in the first place? Level 62? The 3 test soul masters couldn't help but take 2 steps back at the same time in front of the blazing bright yellow flame on Qin Ming, avoiding the sharp edge. Qin Ming raised his right hand and made a gesture of invitation. Who can give me some advice? Advice? What kind of advice is there? A level 50 soul master facing a level 60 strong attack system soul master, who also has a mutant martial spirit. Is there any need to fight? Well, there is no need to conduct a practical evaluation. The Academy has a rule that Soul Masters who have passed level 60 can be exempted from other additional tests. The Soul Master in charge of the evaluation, headed by Lan Ba Academy, secretly wiped his sweat and thought to himself, today is going to be a powerful one. Qin Ming took back his martial spirit, and his momentum was completely contained. Everything returned to normal. The one on the left of the 3 evaluation teachers at Blue Tyrant Academy couldn't help but ask, "May I ask, how old are you this year?" Qin Ming said calmly, 34. As soon as this simple number came out, 3 pairs of eyes widened in front of Qin Ming. 34, 62, what is this concept? Not to mention seeing it, they have never even heard of it. Flanders smiled and said directly, since there is no need for additional evaluation above level 60, then we don't need to waste time. Brothers, open the spirit ring. In addition to Yao Gang, the 5 teachers of Shrek Academy simultaneously opened their martial spirits that were enough to make ordinary spirit masters look up to them. In an instant, 2 spirit emperors, 3 spirit saints, and a total of 31 spirit rings appeared in front of the teachers in charge of evaluation at Blue Tyrant Academy at the same time. Level 63 Dragon Pattern Stick Soul Emperor, Li Yusong, Strong Attack. Level 66 Star Chess Soul Emperor, Lu Kaiban, Control. Level 71 Sugarbin Soul Saint, Xiao Xin, Food. Level 76 Powerful King Kong Bear Battle Soul Saint, Dao Wuji. Strong Attack. Level 78 Catal Battle Soul Saint, Flanders. Agility Attack. From weak to strong, 5 people from Shrek Academy, including the 2 deans, reported their strengths and names one after another. The 3 teachers in charge of the assessment were completely stunned at this time. There were a total of 7 soul masters who looked like they were applying for a job as teachers, except for one who did not show his strength. The remaining 6 were all strong men above level 60. The many soul rings in front of them had already made their eyes a little dazzled. Chapter 214, a cuckold, a scumbag, and a love-brained person. If it weren't for Flanders and the others who deliberately controlled not to release too much spirit power, I'm afraid that the 3 Blue Tyrant Academy teachers would have been unable to stand firm at this time. Is it okay? Flanders' voice was accompanied by a few spirit power shocks, awakening the 3 extremely surprised spirit masters. Ah, of course, seniors, please collect your martial spirits. The 3 people obviously became respectful. Tang San stood among the Shrek 7 devils, looking at the scene in front of him and thinking in his heart that in this world, strength is indeed the key to success. Before, when he was at the Dandu Royal Academy, the titled Douluo appeared and suppressed the teachers of Shrek Academy. Even Dean Flanders had to endure and didn't make a move. At this time, the strength of the teachers of Shrek Academy also shocked Blue Tyrant Academy. Strength is indeed the most important. After watching the martial spirits displayed by Flanders and others, the teachers of Blue Tyrant Academy also looked at Yao Gang with expectation. Yao Gang suddenly felt a hot panic on his face. "What are you looking at me for?" After hesitating for a moment, he thought of the humiliation he had suffered at the Tandu Royal Academy, and now he was facing this kind of thing again. He directly summoned his own martial spirit, level 29 Battle Spirit Master, Martial Spirit Luo Sanpao. Yao Gang, silence, nothing but silence. Ahem. This mature student, this is a test from the teacher, you don't need to participate. After these words came out, everyone couldn't hold back their laughter anymore, especially Ning Rong, who laughed without any scruples. If it weren't for Yun Feng supporting her, she would have fallen to the ground now. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Student. Even Flanders and others had a hint of laughter in their eyes. In the end, Yao Gang couldn't hold back a little. His face was flushed with shame, and he said loudly, "Soul power doesn't represent everything. I am Yao Gang, the theoretical master of the martial spirit world, and Yao Gang, the elder of the martial spirit hall." After these words came out, Ning Rong laughed even louder. After a long time, the teachers of Blue Tyrant Academy also calmed down, seeing that Yao Gang was not a student pretending to be one. Taking a deep breath, the teacher who led Blue Tyrant Academy said respectfully, "I am Yinshu, a level 54 strong attack system combat spirit master. I cannot assess the level of the seniors. How about this? I will take you to see our dean, and she will decide your level and treatment." All of them are spirit masters above level 60, so the application assessment is meaningless. The most important thing is to keep them. This teacher named Yinshu is obviously a smart person to be entrusted with the important task of recruitment. He immediately thought of showing the sincerity of Blue Tyrant Academy to these powerful spirit masters in front of him. "Then let's go." Flanders smiled slightly. The mood of the teachers of Shrek Academy also improved a lot. After all, being respected is much more comfortable than being despised. Although the environment here is not as good as that of Tandu Royal Academy, but it also has its advantages. The three Blue Tyrant Academy teachers, led by Yinshu, walked in front, and walked out of the pointed building and walked directly along a small path next to it to the back of the academy. Soon, they entered the forest outside the main campus. After entering the forest, Yun Feng said directly to Yin, "Yin is possessed." Although Yin knew what Yun Feng wanted to do, she did not hesitate at all. After all, for her, she is now Yun Feng's person. In addition, as long as it makes it uncomfortable to help Tang San, she is happy. Under the blessing of Yin, the fifth soul skill was unknowingly launched directly, and even affected everyone. The most serious ones were Yao Gang and Flanders. Yao Gang asked in confusion at this time, "Doesn't your dean live in the campus area?" Yinshu answered seriously, and did not neglect Yao Gang because of his low strength. The dean is usually not in the academy. She prefers quietness and lives alone in the forest. The daily affairs of the academy are handled by the teachers. Only major matters need to be consulted with the dean. When the dean was mentioned, the teacher of music showed sincere respect in his eyes, which was completely from the heart. So that's how it is. Yao Gang did not ask any more questions, but for some reason, he always felt uneasy in his heart. After walking for about 10 minutes, everyone was walking in the fresh air of the forest. Suddenly, a faint singing voice came from the front. The singing voice was gentle and beautiful, sad and lingering, like crying and complaining, which made people feel sad. The melody went back and forth, and it was incomparably soft. "It's hard to fall asleep at night. What can numb me? Emotions. What's wrong with me? Why are you so self-pitying? I should have let it go long ago." Alas, the singing died quietly, and Flanders and Yao Gang, who were walking in the front, had stopped when the singing sounded. At this time, Flanders looked a little strange, and Yao Gang was a little touched at the beginning, but later, when he heard those words, he froze. Seeing the strange looks of Flanders and Yao Gang, everyone stopped in surprise. Suddenly, Yu Gang turned around and was about to run back the way he came, but Flanders grabbed his shoulder. Flanders said in a low voice, "Dao Gang, how long do you want to escape? You are already here. Can you really bear not to see her?" "Flanders, did you know she was here a long time ago?" "Blue Tyrant Academy, Blue Tyrant Academy, Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, I should have thought of it earlier." Flanders made a helpless gesture. "How could I know she was here? It's just a coincidence. Let's go." Yu Gang's eyes showed a struggling light. After escaping for 20 years, he finally had to face it again today, and he had to face it without any mental preparation. What kind of feeling is that? Use the person on the other side and run away. At this time, his heart was very tormented, but Flanders's grip on Yu Gang's shoulder was firm and powerful, but he felt a little sad in his heart. "Sister Long, I brought him to you. This time, you must catch him no matter what. Don't let him go again." Yun Feng saw the whole scene, a green-haired turtle, a dead scumbag, and a love-brained girl. "I really don't know what to say. Fortunately, I came, otherwise, I would have missed a good show." Just as Yu Gang guessed, Flanders did know that she was in this Lanba Academy. One of the reasons why he chose to come to Tandu Royal Academy was because she was in Tandu City. Flanders has never forgotten everything that the three of them endured. He has already figured it out. Even if he is deceiving Yu Gang this time, he has to match the two again. Is the worldly perspective so important? Chapter 215. You damn scum, how dare you appear in front of me? Among the others, except for Hao Wuji, who was most familiar with Flanders, and Tang San, who was closest to Yu Gang, who guessed something, most of them didn't understand what was going on, and could only follow behind blankly, heading there. Continuing forward for hundreds of meters, the woods gradually became sparse, and a sign was hung on an especially thick tree, with a line of words engraved on it. "The academy is a restricted area. Please do not enter without permission." After passing this big tree, the scenery in front of us suddenly changed. It was a small lake, with a diameter of only 50 meters. A stream about 3 meters wide quietly injected water from the other side of the woods and then flowed back. This kept the water flowing in this place that should be considered a pond. Next to the pond, there was a simple hut, built of wood and straw, which was completely integrated with the surrounding environment. There was a fence around the hut, and various flowers were planted inside the fence, competing to bloom, colorful and beautiful. Among the flowers, a woman was standing there, holding a kettle, watering the flowers. Perhaps because she heard the footsteps, her eyes unconsciously looked in the direction of the Shrek Academy group. She frowned slightly, as if because she was disturbed by the tranquility here. However, when her eyes passed through the three Blue Tyrant Academy Soul Masters who led the way and fell on Flanders and Yu Gang behind her, her whole body instantly became stiff, her hands loosened, and the kettle fell to the ground with a bang. She let the kettle water flow, but she had completely forgotten about it at this time. She was a beautiful woman who looked to be in her 30s, wearing a simple green cloth skirt, but it could not hide her grace at all. The cloth hand tied up the green cloth on her head, and on her pale face. Her facial features were so delicate and moving, her eyebrows and eyes were like paintings, and her pair of big black eyes were dull at this time, but they were still very bright. Under the cloth robe, there were mountains and ridges that could not be concealed, surging waves, and mature and plump grace, which was absolutely not something an ordinary girl could achieve. Yinshu and the other three Soul Masters from Lanba Academy guessed from the conversation between Flanders and Yu Gang that the two men should know the dean, but they still had to follow the etiquette and quickly stepped forward a few steps to the outside of the fence. Yinshu respectfully said to the beautiful woman behind the fence, "Dean, there are several new Soul Masters who have applied. Among them, the strength of 6 people exceeds the 60th level of soul power. We cannot make the decision. Please make the decision." The figure flashed, and the beautiful woman was outside the fence. The Shrek 7 Devils did not see how she came out from inside. Several teachers were also shocked at the same time. The so-called seeing the big from the small. From the simple action of this woman, it can be seen that her strength is strong. "Am I not dreaming? You dead scum, you dare to appear in front of me?" the soft voice asked twice, but her beautiful voice was trembling violently at this time. Tears flowed uncontrollably along her slightly pale face, and the whole person was in extreme excitement. Yun Feng understood when he saw this. Although the soul skill had affected Liu Erlong, it had not completely changed her mind. However, seeing that Liu Erlong had already awakened, Yun Feng was very satisfied. Just take it slowly. Yu Gang also pretended to be extremely uncomfortable at this time. With red eyes, he looked at the woman in front of him who made him think about her day and night, but he dared not meet her. His lips trembled, but he could not say a word for a long time. It was still Flanders who sighed softly. Our so-called golden iron triangle finally met again today. Sister Erlong, I haven't seen you for many years. Are you okay? His heart was also sighing. In front of her, she still had Zhao Gang in her eyes. Although the tone just now was strange, the first name she read was still Zhao Gang. The beautiful woman's scattered pupils finally focused, and her eyes turned to Flanders, revealing unspeakable emotions in her eyes. Boss F, I haven't seen you for many years, and you are still the same. Flanders smiled bitterly. I am old, but you are still as charming as ever. Come, let me introduce you. These are the teachers and students of my Shrek Academy. I accidentally saw the recruitment notice of your academy. I didn't expect that this is your territory. We are here to make a living, bypassing the master. Flanders introduced several teachers of Shrek Academy to the beautiful woman, and finally said to everyone in Shrek Academy, this is Liu Erlong. Perhaps you have heard of her. She was the one who worked with me and the master in the Soul Master world. She is the last member of our Golden Iron Triangle. Liu Erlong. This name sounds a bit strange, but everyone in Shrek Academy did not dare to neglect it. They came forward to salute. Liu Erlong also put away her feelings, wiped away the tears in her eyes, and returned the greeting politely. Sister Erlong, aren't you going to invite us in? Flanders said with a smile. Seeing Liu Erlong again, it was not only Yu Gang who was shaken, but also him. However, he could only bury this swaying deep in his heart. Liu Erlong smiled bitterly and said, Boss Flanders, do you think my thatched cottage can accommodate so many people? What's wrong with you? When did you fall to this point? If someone else asked this question, Flanders might have turned hostile, but the person who was asking the question was the one who had haunted him. He smiled bitterly and simply told the story of the trip. He put himself in the position of the victim and began to complain. When he heard Flanders say that the Shrek Academy group was expelled from the Tandu Royal Academy, Liu Erlong's eyes flashed with a strong murderous aura. Okay, what a great Tandu Royal Academy. Boss Fu, don't say anything. You can stay at my place. I have the final say over this Blue Tyrant Academy. Let's put it this way. Everyone stay here, and this will be where you live from now on. Flanders glanced at the zombie-like master next to him and said jokingly, our salary requirements are high. Can you afford it? Liu Erlong smiled slightly and said, Boss Fu, you are wrong. It's not a question of whether I can afford it or not. You are soul emperors and soul saints. It's not easy to educate the students casually, and the salary will definitely be full for you. Flanders is very uncomfortable now. Didn't the previous letter say that the academy would be given to him? Why did it suddenly change now? For a moment, he couldn't help but feel a little bit unacceptable. On the other side, the three teachers belonging to the Blue Tyrant Academy were even more stunned after hearing this. Why is this? Yun Feng almost laughed when he saw this. After all, there is still some change. Teacher Yinchu, please go and announce that a meeting of all teachers and students will be held tomorrow. These are my friends. We haven't seen each other for many years. Today we want to catch up. Ask the canteen to prepare a sumptuous banquet in the second-floor private room. I want to entertain them. Yes, Dean. Although they still didn't understand the true relationship between Dean Liu Erlong and these people, this was obviously not what Yinchu and the other three should ask. They hurried away along the original path. Yu Gang, are you going to keep pretending to be dead? You bastard, you left me at the wedding scene and ran away. What are you doing here now? Liu Erlong's gaze turned to the master again. The excitement in her eyes did not disappear, but her voice was no longer trembling, but a little more hateful. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him, Yu Gang's heart was trembling. He opened his mouth several times with some difficulty, but found that he couldn't say anything. He was really upset now. It was completely different from what he imagined. Why was he so good to Flanders? But he wanted to kill himself. Yurelong stared at Yao Gang for a long time, and suddenly a wicked look appeared on the corner of his mouth. Yao Gang, I will never let you escape from me again. This time, I will let you know what pain is. Chapter 216. I will let him know what happens if he messes with a woman. Flanders smiled, thinking it was just a couple quarreling. Sister Yurelong, although this is a coincidence, I'm afraid you'll never see him again. Time flies. 20 years have passed in the blink of an eye. 20 whole years. Taking a deep breath, Yurelong reluctantly moved her eyes away from Yao Gang and said to the people of Shrek, everyone is new here. Let me introduce you to the Blue Tyrant Academy. This forest is the largest in Tandu City and all of it belongs to the Academy's resources. Although our facilities are not as good as those of the Tandu Royal Academy, they are not much worse. 10 years have passed since the establishment of the Academy. Because we only accept civilian spirit masters, the quality of the spirits of the spirit masters themselves is inferior to that of ordinary high-level spirit master academies. But it is precisely because our students are born from civilians that they have to practice much harder than those from large families or nobles. In the last spirit master competition, we defeated many powerful enemies and finally made it into the top 8. The results were only slightly worse than the first team of the Tandu Royal Academy. Their second team was still eliminated by us. After a pause, Yurelong continued, as for how to teach in the future, that is the problem of Boss Fu. I am incompetent as the dean, and now I can finally be free. Tandu Royal Academy actually dared to drive you out. Humphrey, I want to see what they have the right to do. See you at the Advanced Soul Master Academy competition next year. When young Feng heard this, he knew that Yurelong now regarded Flanders as a high-level worker. Yurelong gave everyone a strange feeling. There was a big gap between her words and her appearance. If she changed into a luxurious dress, she would look like a lady. But the tone of her speech was full of bravery and fierceness. Dao Wuji, who had some understanding of the original Golden Iron Triangle, knew that this seemingly coquettish beauty was not simple. In the original Golden Iron Triangle, Flanders was called the Flying Corner, and the Master was called the Commanding Corner, but Yurelong was called the Killing Corner. He hated evil and had a very hot temper. He would only restrain himself in front of Yao Gang and Flanders. But now it feels like Yao Gang and Flanders are afraid of her. At this moment, Yurelong introduced the details of the entire Blue Tyrant Academy to everyone. This place is better than imagined. Although there are only more than 200 students in the entire academy, it is well known in the Soul Master world of the Tandu Empire. Even the Soul Masters from noble families have to admit that the Blue Tyrant Academy has a bowstring to the Soul Master world. This can be said to be the cradle of civilian Soul Masters. Although it has only been opened for 10 years, there are already many civilian Soul Masters with good strength. Even the Spirit Hall hopes to cooperate with the Blue Tyrant Academy, but they were all rejected by Yurelong. Although the facilities here are not as good as those of the Tandu Royal Academy, they are much better than the former Shrek Academy. Okay, it's almost time. Let's go and eat and talk. Yurelong seemed to have forgotten Yao Gang, but Yun Feng knew that from the moment the soul skills changed her understanding of Yurelong, Yao Gang was miserable. In the following period of time, her hardy nature was fully demonstrated. After entertaining the Shrek Academy group for lunch, he explained everyone's doubts one by one. Then he took everyone to visit the Blue Tyrant Academy, and finally arranged accommodation for everyone in the teacher dormitory building of the academy. As for the treatment and other issues, Yurelong was extremely generous. He gave a lot of rights. Flanders wanted to ask Yurelong, but he didn't say it in the end. After all, he still liked Yurelong. In this day, from the joy in the early morning to the shame and anger in the morning, and then to the bright future later. For the Shrek group, it was really too fulfilling. At Flanders' request, the dinner was not as rich as the lunch, and everyone finished it quickly. Flanders thought about it and said slowly, everyone is tired today. Let's go back and rest early. Starting tomorrow, we will be busy. Just arrived in this new environment, both teachers and students need a process of adaptation. What's more, Yurelong has directly pushed the matter of training students to Flanders. Regarding this, Yurelong was not polite to Flanders, Flanders was also happy about this. Although he knew that his sister Ralong did this on purpose, he still couldn't refuse Liu Ralong, just like he had never been able to refuse her request before. "Dao-san, accompany me for a walk." Yu Gang didn't dare to meet Liu Ralong's resentful eyes, pushed the table, called Tang-san, and walked out. "Oh." Tang-san agreed, hurriedly stood up, and followed Yu Gang out. Liu Ralong took the napkin from the table and wiped her mouth elegantly as if she didn't see the master leave. Flanders showed a smile on his face. "Aren't you afraid that he will run away again?" Liu Ralong looked at Flanders. She also smiled, but there was a bit of playfulness in her smile. "Boss F, do you think he will still run away if I see him again? This time, I will let him know what it means to mess with a woman." After leaving the cafeteria, Yu Gang walked straight towards the forest. He always liked plants, especially the tranquility of the forest. Tang-san followed behind Yu Gang all the time, without asking anything, just quietly accompanying his teacher. He could sense the complex mood of the master at this moment. At this moment, it would be better to let his teacher be quiet. Walking into the woods, the temperature was obviously lower than outside. The fresh air refreshed Yu Gang, and even his fear seemed to be relieved a little. Stopping, Yu Gang turned to Tang-san and said lightly, "Dao-san, do you really want to ask, what is the relationship between Ralong and me? Why is it like this now? Why did I hide from her for 20 years? Tang-san nodded. Yu Gang sighed and said, "Let me tell you a story. More than 20 years ago, a young man from a famous family was rejected by his family because his martial soul mutated and he could not inherit the martial soul heritage of his family. In order to prove himself, he studied hard to become a soul master and researched deeper connotations, hoping that one day, he would be recognized by the world with his knowledge. When he was traveling, he met a like-minded young soul master, and the two decided to venture into the soul master world together. One day, when they were hunting soul beasts in a soul beast forest, they met a beautiful girl. The girl was alone, and her lively and cheerful personality quickly attracted the two young men. The three of them became good friends, and the original team of 2 people was increased to 3 people. As time went by, the two young men fell in love with the girl with the fire dragon martial soul, but because of their brotherhood, no one was willing to express it, especially the young man who could not possess strong strength because of his own mutated martial soul, buried this love deeply in his heart. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, How Shameless. Because the 3 of them accidentally discovered that they could perform a powerful soul fusion technique by cooperating with each other, relying on their own strength, they gradually made a name for themselves as the Golden Iron Triangle in the Soul Master world. At this point, Yu Gang sighed again. Feelings accumulate over time. The deeper they are hidden, the stronger they become. As the 3 of them got older, their feelings for each other grew stronger. Finally, one day, the powerful young man couldn't stand the torment of his emotions anymore and confessed to the girl. However, a result that surprised both young men appeared before them. The girl has always known that both young men like her. It is for this reason that she is afraid of hurting the other person by revealing her choice. Faced with the confession of the powerful young man, she finally couldn't hide it anymore. She called both young men in front of her and told them that she liked the young man whose martial soul had mutated and whose strength was low, but who had excellent theoretical knowledge through perseverance and hard work. You should have guessed it. The girl was Ralong, and the two young men were me and Flanders. I still remember Flanders' extremely disappointed expression and my own violent heartbeat. At that moment, I suddenly felt the happiness I had never had in my life. However, Ralong and I didn't want to hurt Flanders. For a moment, the 3 of us fell silent. A few days passed like this, and the gloomy atmosphere made us all feel a little suffocated. Finally, Flanders stood up. He was the oldest among us, and he said that he wanted to become brothers with me, and Ralong was his sister-in-law. Tang-san couldn't help but say, "Dean Flanders is really a good man. Perhaps, This is the best ending. Yu Gang nodded. I will never forget what Flanders said. He said that he had lost his lover and would never want to lose his brother and sister again. He blessed us from the bottom of his heart. Tang San asked doubtfully, if that's the case, then Nguyen and Trelong should be able to get married. Why is it? Yu Gang also pretended to smile bitterly at this time. If everything went well and the story behind didn't happen, perhaps our children would have been older than you. But I don't know if it was God's trick that destroyed everything we have. I remember that day very clearly. The stars at night were particularly bright. Flanders officiated for us, and Roland and I finally got married. Although we had nothing at that time, no blessings from relatives and friends, no grand wedding, but at that time, we all felt extremely happy. As long as you can be with the one you love, what does everything else matter? Just when the three of us had a drink together and Flanders was about to say goodbye to us and plan to go out on his own, a few people suddenly came, and I know all these people. The leader was my uncle, the current second patriarch of the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex family, Douluo. At that time, his arrival surprised me greatly, but since that day was my big day, and the people who came were relatives, I had a pretty good relationship with this second uncle, so I immediately and happily invited them into our new house. At this point, Yu Gang's emotions became obviously excited. But who would have thought that my second uncle was not looking for me? His target was actually Roland. What? Why? Tang San asked in surprise. Yu Gang continued. Before we got married, Roland, Flanders and I traveled the continent together. We never asked each other about our backgrounds. This is a personal privacy. I didn't say it because my family didn't tolerate it. Flanders was born in a poor family, and Roland never mentioned it. The purpose of my second uncle to find me was to recognize my relatives. Roland turned out to be his illegitimate daughter. Tang San's eyes widened in shock. It was fate that made people feel so unpredictable. No wonder the teacher chose to leave. All of this was really unfair to him. Roland's face turned pale when I called her second uncle. When I asked her in disbelief, I saw her nodding. I was shocked as if I had been struck by a bolt from the blue. I never thought that the woman I loved so much was actually my cousin. Tears flowed down Yu Gang's face uncontrollably. Even though 20 years had passed, the scenes at that time could never fade from his mind. The great joy of being together with the one he loves suddenly turned into great sorrow. How painful it was. With a choked voice, Yu Gang's eyes were blurred. At that time, my second uncle understood what was going on when he saw the clothes we were wearing. His first words were, "How could you marry this loser?" I had always thought that my second uncle was nice to me and didn't look at me like the other people in the family. It wasn't until then that I knew I was wrong. It turned out that he still treated me as loser. Later I learned that Roland was the daughter of my second uncle and a prostitute. Because of Roland's mother's background, my second uncle didn't dare to bring her home. When Roland was traveling, her mother had died of illness. She had been raised by my second uncle outside and he let her follow her mother's instincts. The two characters Roland in her name were given by her mother for her father. My second uncle's nickname was Roland. That's not right, teacher. If Senior Roland is your cousin, then your martial spirit should be the same as your family inheritance, the Blue Lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex. Could it be that Senior Roland's martial spirit is also? A hint of darkness flashed in Yu Gang's eyes, and he nodded in response to Tang San's inquiry. Yes, Roland's martial spirit also mutated, but she didn't become weak. Although she didn't become strong, she still had a very strong martial spirit. Lightning mutated into a similar flame, which is the origin of her fire dragon martial spirit. It was under these coincidences that this tragedy happened between us. At that time, I ran out like crazy. At that time, I could only think of death. Roland wanted to chase me, but was forcibly held back by my second uncle. If Flanders hadn't caught up with me and stopped me from committing suicide, I'm afraid there would be no master later. Tang San didn't say anything else. At this time, even he was immersed in the sad world in the master's heart. They didn't know that not far behind them, Roland's mouth twitched a few times. Chapter 218. Enough, Roland, believe me, I didn't. What can I do? Although I gave up my death later, at that time, Roland was everything in my life. You can see that I am not handsome and I don't have strong strength, But she gave up Flanders, who was much better than me, and chose me. I loved her so much, but my lover became my sister. That kind of pain is unimaginable for ordinary people. In the end, out of despair, I could only choose to escape. I didn't let Flanders follow me, and I left alone in silence. Later, Flanders sent a message saying that Erlong and my second uncle had a falling out after returning to the family, and she was looking for me everywhere like crazy. How I wanted to see her, but I couldn't. I couldn't ruin her reputation. The combination of brother and sister is not tolerated by the world. Even if I don't care, Erlong is a woman, how can I let her bear all this? What's more, what my second uncle said is right. I'm just a waste, a useless waste. Erlong is with me, and I don't even have the ability to protect her. She shouldn't belong to me. Year after year passed, and I didn't even dare to inquire about Erlong's situation. I was afraid that I would not be able to help but look for her. In a daze, I could only devote all my energy to the research of martial arts. It was not until I met you that I regained the vitality in my heart. I placed my heart and mind on you, and I have been better these years. I know that Flanders must know that Erlong is here. He is not a rash person. If he didn't know in advance, how could he choose another college after the shock he just received at Tandu Royal Academy? It's just that I didn't think so much at the time. Seeing Erlong again will only make me more painful. Erlong's strength is far stronger than mine. This time, even if I want to leave this vortex of pain, I'm afraid I can't do it. Tang San looked at Yao Gang. His eyes were already a little moist. Yes, how unfair was God to his teacher. He deprived him of the powerful martial arts soul that he should have inherited, and even destroyed his union with his lover. Teacher, is the world's perspective really that important? Who says you are a waste? In my heart, you are the most powerful spirit master. Knowledge is also power. Who dares to say that he has more knowledge about spirits than you? No one can. Teacher, you are the best. Aunt Erlong has been waiting for you for so many years and has not chosen anyone else. How much love does she have for you? If you keep escaping like this, it will only make both of you suffer. Even if you really care about the world's perspective, you can take her away. Yao Gang shook his head painfully. No, that's too unfair to Erlong. Zizan, to love someone, you don't necessarily have to get them. I hope she can live a happy life. Tang San had already forgotten that he was a student at this time. Looking at Yao Gang's depression, he couldn't help but protest. If you escape like this, Aunt Erlong will be happy? Teacher, your heart is too fragile. What about the world's perspective? Aunt Erlong is not afraid of a woman, so what are you afraid of? You should face these things bravely with her, break all obstacles and walk together, and prove to your family and everyone that there is nothing wrong with you being together. Although cousins are closely related by blood, is there really no such combination? Teacher, you are not only afraid that Aunt Erlong will suffer with you, you are also afraid to accept this reality. You are inferior. Yao Gang stared at Tang San blankly, his lips humming, but he was already a little speechless. Although he was as proud as Flanders, however, he, who had a low-level martial spirit, was always inferior in his heart. Flanders and Erlong did not dare to speak of the pain in his heart. At this time, Tang San said it out in excitement, and it hit the point. Just when Yao Gang was about to be persuaded by Tang San to come back, Liu Erlong, Yun Feng and others slowly walked out from not far behind Tang San and Yao Gang. Liu Erlong seemed to be moved by Yao Gang's words. Yun Feng directly touched Ning Rong-Arong's side with his hand. Although Ning Rong-Arong didn't know what Yun Feng was doing, she still asked mercilessly, Master, you are a theoretical master in the martial arts world. You have been together for so long, but you didn't realize that Aunt Erlong's martial arts spirit is mutated? I don't believe it even if you say it. You can't. Shut up. Yao Gang exploded directly. His eyes were full of anger. His fingers kept trembling. Under his angry eyes, there was more fear. He was afraid that Ning Rong-Arong would tell all this mercilessly. But who is Ning Rong-Arong? Yao Gang's words aroused Ning Rong-Arong's dissatisfaction. Who do you think you are? Why, are you angry after I pointed it out? Either you deny your own knowledge and didn't see Aunt Erlong's martial arts spirit, or, you admit your own knowledge and saw Aunt Erlong's identity, and you approached her just to use her. Ning Rong-Arong's words completely broke Yao Gang's defense. Yun Feng also added fuel to the fire at this time. Although Liu Erlong became more normal due to her own spirit skills, she might be in love. So she said immediately, "It shouldn't be like this." With Master's knowledge, it's impossible for him to make such a common-sense mistake. After all, Master saw at a glance that Tang San was. "Sorry, did I say too much?" Yun Feng's words were a surefire way to kill. Instantly, Liu Erlong's originally wavering mind became firm. Her eyes were full of hatred when she looked at Zhao Gang. "Enough, Erlong, believe me, I really didn't." This time, Zhao Gang finally didn't avoid Liu Erlong's gaze. As she watched her approach step by step, she took out her trump card again. Her eyes were full of affection. Her heartbeat was obviously increasing. The inner demon barrier was gradually breaking under the impact of the hypocritical and surging emotions. The repressed barrier of 20 years could no longer block the golden affection deep in his heart. At least that's what outsiders think. Tang San wanted to say something, but after seeing this scene, he wanted to pull Yun Feng and the others away. Yun Feng hesitated for a moment and looked at Liu Erlong. Seeing the determination in her eyes, he felt relieved instantly. "You guys go first, I have something to talk about with the master." Ning Rong wanted to say something, but finally left. She left with Yun Feng and the others and gradually disappeared into the woods. At this time, no one should disturb them. It's better to let Liu Erlong vent his anger. Chapter 219. Well, Zhao Gang is being beaten up at this moment. It's so miserable. Tang San secretly blessed Zhao Gang in his heart. How could he not see the loneliness that his teacher often showed? Yun Feng and others hoped that Liu Erlong would completely untie the knot in his heart. For Tang San, what is ethics? It does not exist at all. At this time, the source was finally found. If it could be resolved and the teacher and Liu Erlong could really get together, then it would be the best ending for both of them. The woods were dark and quiet. After Yun Feng sent Ning Rong and others away, he did not rush back, but just walked quietly in the woods. "Yin, how is it over there?" Facing Yun Feng's inquiry, Yin also said directly, "Well, Zhao Gang is being beaten violently at this time. It's so miserable." After hearing this, Yun Feng immediately became interested and said directly, "Share the picture quickly, I want to see it too." Yin did not hesitate and directly broadcast the picture in the sea of consciousness to Yun Feng. Seeing Liu Erlong's unilateral beating of Zhao Gang, Yun Feng was stunned. This is too cruel. He simply doesn't treat Zhao Gang as a human being. TSK, too miserable. After Yun Feng finished speaking, the air around him suddenly became a little cold. Yun Feng shuddered and couldn't help but frowning in some strangeness. After breaking through the 50-level soul power, he has reached the point where he is immune to cold and heat. Besides, it is summer, so why would he feel cold? At this moment, Yun Feng suddenly stopped in surprise. 3 meters in front of him, he didn't know when there was an extra person. A person with a green body, green hair, green eyes, green nails, cold and evil eyes like a venomous snake. The person who suddenly appeared in front of Yun Feng was Zhugubo, the titled Buo with the title of Poison, whom he saw during the day. Yun Feng smiled immediately after seeing Zhugubo, but think about it, it's right, Tang San has not shown his strength at all now. He has not shown his understanding of poison, and because of the strength he showed before, it is reasonable to be targeted. In fact, the reason why Zhugubo found Yun Feng is also very simple. If Yun Feng is easy to talk to, then forget it. If he is not easy to talk to, it is better to kill such a great genius directly. But we have to be cautious. Yun Feng almost subconsciously wanted to activate his martial spirit, but Zhugubo's body was in front of him the next moment. He did not see how he acted. Tang San only felt dizzy in his brain, and he knew nothing. The last thought in Yun Feng's mind was, damn, why didn't Zhugubo play by the rules? And it was this momentary soul power fluctuation that woke up Liu Erlong, who was just beating Zhao Gang not far away. Who is it? Liu Erlong's eyes shone brightly, and her eyes looked in the direction of the soul power fluctuation. She clearly felt the terrifying aura contained in the weak soul power fluctuation, and her figure flashed, pulling up Zhao Gang, who was lying on the ground and twitching. She didn't want Zhao Gang to die so easily. She still wanted to torture him. After hearing this, Yu Gang was stunned for a moment, and then his face changed drastically. Not good, maybe Yun Feng is in trouble. Go check it out. Although he had many opinions about Yun Feng, but Yun Feng was also the best tool for him to realize his ideals in the future, so he naturally didn't want to see Yun Feng get into trouble. After hearing this, Liu Erlong suddenly accelerated, relying on the spirit power and breath, and quickly came to the place where the accident happened before, but except for the coldness and the air, they didn't find any clues. Liu Erlong urged her own spirit power to search with all her strength, but she couldn't find Tang San's breath. Yu Gang also endured the pain at this time, and made a prompt decision. Let's go back and find Flanders first. This cold breath is familiar. If it's that person, I'm afraid it will be difficult. Although Yu Gang's strength is not strong, his observation and judgment are much stronger than ordinary people. This trace of cold breath immediately reminded him of Jugubo, whom he met at the Dandu Royal Academy during the day, and Juguyen, the green phosphorus snake spirit master who later met Jugubo's grandson. Dizzy, when Yun Feng woke up from his coma, he found that everything around him was pitch black. Only two green lights shone eerily in the darkness. After waking up, Yun Feng felt the soul power in his body gradually condense, and the strength returned to his body, but he did not move. The more dangerous the situation, the more you must stay calm, and you must not fall into crisis because of your own rash actions. What's more, he didn't think Jugubo would do anything to him. Don't pretend now that you're awake. Are you really only 13 years old? Why do you have the mentality of a veteran? A hoarse voice came from the side. As his eyes adapted to the light, Yun Feng could vaguely see with the help of the two pale green lights. Jugubo was sitting not far from him, and the two green lights were actually Jugubo's eyes. Turning over and sitting up, Yun Feng did not speak, but just looked at Jugubo coldly, without asking. He also knew the reason why Jugubo captured him, which was obviously revenge from Juguyen. What good fate would he have if he fell into the hands of this titled Buo who was famous for his poison? He just said one sentence at the beginning. How could he really remember it now? Boy, your name is Yun Feng? Jugubo leaned against the stone wall behind him and asked lightly. Yes. Yun Feng's answer was simple. He naturally didn't want to just sit there and wait for death. He sat there and quietly gathered his soul power. Although he knew that with his soul power of more than 50 levels, he had no chance at all against a titled Buo who was over 90 levels. But if he didn't make a final struggle, how could he be willing? Besides, he was not the kind of person who was willing to surrender. Jugubo's eyes flashed green. I heard that you are only 13 years old now. Is this true? Yun Feng smiled, then looked directly at Jugubo and said, I don't believe that you didn't touch my bone age when you brought me here. Looking at Yun Feng's indifferent look, Jugubo suddenly chattered with a strange laugh. How many years has it been? I'll count how many years it has been since anyone dared to talk to me like this. Boy, aren't you afraid of death? Yun Feng nodded, and then said, Of course I am afraid, but if you want to kill me, you will definitely not have an easy time, let alone whether I can bite off a piece of meat from you. You can't handle Ning Rong alone. What did you say? Jugubo's eyes suddenly glowed green, and with just a slight raise of his hand, Yun Feng's body was thrown out by an irresistible force. He hit the wall behind him heavily, and the severe pain almost made him faint again. Boy, if you dare to talk to me again, you should know that I can destroy all living things within a kilometer and make no grass grow in an instant. Chapter 220 Soul Guide RPG. You deserve it. If I want to kill you, I don't even need to do it myself. I can just poison you to death. I can make you die without knowing why. Yun Feng struggled to get up, and straightened his back while enduring the severe pain in his body. If it weren't for the immortal grass, Yun Feng really didn't want to serve. Even though Jugubo was hailed as the shame of the titled Buo, but his strength is still real. The pain is really painful. Do I need to argue with you? What's the point of that for me? Your poison is really powerful, but your strength is still rubbish, and the poison skill is to poison the enemy, but you have even poisoned yourself. Isn't your poison rubbish? Jugubo was stunned for a moment, and waved his right hand. I don't know how he did it, and a circle of green flames suddenly ignited around the cave. Under the illumination of the green fire, Yun Feng could see clearly that he was in a cave with a radius of nearly 1,000 square meters. Zhuge Bo was still dressed in his daytime clothes, and was standing more than 10 meters in front of him. What a joke! My poison will poison myself. I am 78 years old this year, and I have always been the one to poison others, and no one has ever poisoned me. Zhuge Bo looked at Yun Feng coldly. Strangely, he did not attack Yun Feng again this time. Zhuge Bo did not want to attack, but seeing Yun Feng's calm look, he was not used to it, and subconsciously wanted to teach him a lesson. Now that he has found a way out, he will naturally not continue. Yun Feng is right. If he takes action, it will indeed bring a lot of trouble, and it will not be worth it. But soon Zhuge Bo almost couldn't hold back, and Yun Feng snorted disdainfully. Is it really like this? Then let me ask you, every time it's cloudy and rainy, do you feel numbness and itching in your ribs? And it will gradually increase. It occurs once at noon and midnight. With your current condition, it should last for more than an hour each time. Also, every night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, you will feel a stabbing pain on the top of your head and heart, and your whole body will spasm for at least half an hour. I don't need to describe the process of excruciating pain, right? If it's not poisoning, would such symptoms appear? Not only have you been poisoned, but the poison has also penetrated into your bones. I'm just wondering why you haven't died yet. The poison you have is simply not something that can be suppressed by soul power. How did you know? Zhuge Bo could no longer bear the shock in his heart, and said it subconsciously. Yun Feng's description was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. This can be said to be Zhuge Bo's biggest secret, and even his dearest granddaughter doesn't know. How could Yun Feng not be surprised when he heard it? The murderous intent in his eyes was so strong that it seemed to penetrate Yun Feng. The titled Buo was too strong. The murderous aura released from Zhuge Bo hit Yun Feng's chest like a substance. Yun Feng screamed and spit out a mouthful of blood. He took 3 steps back before he could barely stand. Under the pressure of Zhuge Bo's murderous intent, the Blue Silver King suddenly released himself. Even his external soul bone, the 8 spider lance, stretched out directly from his back, releasing its fierce aura to protect Yun Feng's body. Sure enough, there are some tricks. Zhuge Bo had calmed down at this time. He thought that with the murderous aura that he could materialize, he didn't expect that Yun Feng could withstand his murderous aura. Although he vomited blood 3 times, he didn't seem to be hurt. Such a physique is obviously not what a level 50 soul master should have. Let me see. Is this the martial soul that hurt my granddaughter? Zhuge Bo flashed and came to Yun Feng, raising his hand to grab Yun Feng. The Blue Silver King moved on its own, and the first soul ring on Yun Feng's body suddenly flashed, and the first soul ring skill, multiplication, was activated. The tenacious Blue Silver King grew wildly under Yun Feng's full strength, and then wrapped around Zhuge Bo, wrapping his body tightly in almost an instant. But a terrifying scene appeared. The Blue Silver Kings just trapped around Zhuge Bo's body, but melted like ice and snow. That's right, it melted, just like snow falling on fire, without a pause, and even Zhuge Bo's raised hand didn't slow down for a moment. The next moment, Zhuge Bo's big hand had already grabbed Yun Feng's shoulder. Zhuge Bo's hand was very firm, and grabbing the shoulder was like an iron hoop. The 8 spider lance behind Yun Feng almost subconsciously stabbed out at the same time, stabbing Zhuge Bo with a sharp sound of breaking through the air. Purple light burst out, and the poison was fully activated. Zhuge Bo was a little surprised. With his strength, he didn't need to really touch it. The reaction of his body's chi could already feel that the intensity of the 8 spider lance's attack was much stronger than the previous Blue Silver King. Green light instantly spread from Zhuge Bo's body. He did not use his martial spirit. The 8 spider lance pierced the green light, but only splashed 8 circles of emerald green ripples, but could not penetrate into it. So that's it. It's an external soul bone. No wonder your soul power is so high. It's obvious that you have absorbed the soul power of many people. Zhuge Bo suddenly realized and looked at Yun Feng's 8 spider lance with greed in his eyes. Hearing Zhuge Bo's words, Yun Feng knew that Zhuge Bo regarded him as an evil soul master, absorbing other people's soul power to advance quickly. A cold soul power was transmitted into Yun Feng's body from the big hand on his shoulder. Yun Feng felt paralyzed all over his body, and all his soul power could no longer be gathered. The cold airflow instantly spread throughout his body, making him feel like he fell into an ice cellar. Although Yun Feng was amazingly talented, not only was his strength the best among his peers, but he also had combat experience and a calm mind. But in the face of the absolute gap in strength, these were no longer of any use. In front of Jugubo's soul power, let alone resistance, he couldn't even move a little finger at this time. Jugubo obviously didn't take Yun Feng seriously at all. He threw him to the ground with a flick of his hand, and said with some disappointment, "What a pity, it actually merged. Otherwise this kid would have given me a great gift." Jugubo stared at Yun Feng with a green light in his eyes, as if he was looking at a rare treasure, and the light of greed appeared and disappeared. "I have to admit that you are stronger than my granddaughter, and even stronger than that kid Yutan, 13 years old, soul power above level 50, external soul bone, and highly poisonous. What a pity, what a pity." Due to the huge gap in strength, Jugubo did not seal Yun Feng's soul power. Yun Feng struggled to get up from the ground again and said coldly, "Jugubo, it seems that you really want to die." As he spoke, Yun Feng directly took out the soul guide he made from the storage ring. After Yun Feng took it out, he directly carried it and fired. "Soul guide RPG, you deserve it." As Yun Feng pulled the trigger, boom. Chapter 221. Do I need to prove it to you? A mushroom slowly rose up, and Jugubo was hit head-on. He fell to the ground unconscious. Yun Feng was also knocked unconscious by the aftermath of the explosion. However, after a while, when Yun Feng woke up again, he saw Jugubo standing in front of him like a ghost, looking at him with a face full of resentment. "Boy, you succeeded in angering me. I will let you drown in pain." Yun Feng felt the pain on his body and just smiled indifferently. "If you want to die, then die. I won't lose anything if I can take you and your granddaughter with me." Yun Feng didn't even resist when he said this. He just looked at Jugubo coldly. Although it was difficult to breathe, he still said reluctantly, "Do you think you will have a good ending? Your symptoms will continue to worsen. Although I still don't understand how you can control the poison from taking effect. You have simply eaten some rare and precious things, and those rare and precious things can't help you for a lifetime. In a few years, even if you are not poisoned to death, you will be tortured to death by the pain brought by the backlash of the poison. You will die more miserably than me." Jugubo's eyes flashed with an uncertain light. Everything Yun Feng said was his greatest pain now. Behind his powerful strength, he endured torture that ordinary people could hardly imagine. Every time the torture made him unable to live or die, the pain was simply indescribable. "Can you cure the poison in my body?" Jugubo finally lost his face and couldn't help asking. Yun Feng said calmly, "I won't help you even if I can. You will only be worse off than me. Just kill me. You may not be afraid of death. After all, it is rare for a person to live to be 70. Unfortunately, your beautiful granddaughter may not be able to last as long as you. She may not have the same perseverance as you to endure the increasing pain. Her poison will only be more severe than yours, because she has been immersed in this poison since her mother's womb." In order to survive, Yun Feng began to make his last effort. Zhuge Yan inherited her grandfather's martial spirit and possessed a powerful poison ability, but she also inherited the backlash of the poison. Every word Yun Feng said was true, and even a proud person like Jugubo could not refute it. Letting go of his hand, Jugubo let Yun Feng slip from his hand and looked at him coldly. "Why do you want me to believe that you can remove the poison from my body?" Yun Feng simply did not stand up this time, and just sat cross-legged on the ground. "Do I need to prove it to you? You are going to kill me anyway. People like you are only a nuisance in this world. If I save you, I'll just be helping the evil." Just as Yun Feng said, Jugubo cannot care about his own life or death, but he cannot care about the future of his granddaughter. Zhuge Yan is just 20 years old and has a bright future. What's more, before Zhuge Yan, he has tasted the taste of the death of his relatives, and he never wants the same situation to happen again. Jugubo has been playing with poison all his life, but he has no way to deal with the poison in his body. He has made countless attempts. In return, he only got more pain. The uncertain look on his face gradually deepened. Jugubo slowly put his hands behind his back, and his tone became a little softer. I heard from Yan Yan that your name is Yun Feng, right? A real man does not change his name when he walks, and he does not change his surname when he sits. That's right. Yun Feng raised his head coldly. Zhuge Bo snorted disdainfully. A 13-year-old kid. You're still a man? Okay, I won't waste my words with you. If you can really remove the poison from me and my granddaughter, then not only can I not kill you, but I can also promise to help you do 3 things. 3 things that don't violate my bottom line. Yun Feng said calmly. You don't want to kill me, just like you said just now. Why should I believe you? You want to kill me, but it's just a piece of cake. It's not uncommon for people like you to repay kindness with enmity. Zhuge Bo was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that the boy in front of him, who looked only in his teens, would be so difficult to deal with. He couldn't help but said angrily, why don't you ask about my reputation? Zhuge Bo, although I never think of myself as a good person, I value trust. No one has ever dared to despise my integrity like this. Yun Feng closed his eyes. This is just your own empty talk, unless you swear a poisonous oath. Otherwise, I won't believe you. Zhuge Bo's eyes flashed with ferocity, and he almost couldn't bear it. But when he thought of his granddaughter, he still forced himself to suppress his anger. Okay, I'll swear as long as you can prove that you can remove my poison. The chance of survival finally came, and Yun Feng secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but the back of his clothes was already soaked. As long as you are a person, you will be afraid of death, and Yun Feng is no exception, especially dying without any value, which is what he doesn't want. He stood up again and took back the 8-spider lance behind him. How do you want me to prove it? Zhuge Bo restrained the fierce light in his eyes. Prove that you are better at using poison than me, and I will believe you. In his subconscious, he was full of distrust of Yun Feng. After all, the boy in front of him was only 13 years old. Can a 13-year-old child compare with himself who has been immersed in this for decades in the attainment of poison? But Yun Feng's words hit the nail on the head, and when it comes to the symptoms on his body, they are exactly the same. Faced with such an opportunity, Zhuge Bo has to give it a try. Killing Yun Feng or not, it doesn't matter to him. Even if Yun Feng is very talented, he wants to reach the level that can threaten him. It will take decades, and after decades, he will probably be old and dead. What else is there to be afraid of? If he can really detoxify, especially when he is exposed to the deadly poison inherited from his granddaughter, it is the most important thing for Zhuge Bo. Yun Feng spread his hands and said helplessly, I have nothing. How can I prove that I am better at using poison than you? Zhuge Bo said coldly, this is easy. This is my villa, where various medicines are widely planted. Just find what you want. I will give you 1 day. Within 1 day, you will prepare various antidotes by yourself. After 1 day, I will poison you with 3 kinds of poisons. As long as you can use the antidote you prepare to resist the poison I put, it proves that you are qualified to detoxify me. Otherwise, you will die. It sounds like there is plenty of time to prepare an antidote within 1 day. But in fact, there are tens of millions of poisons, each with its own characteristics. The poisons used by a poison master like Zhuge Bo are not ordinary. It is absolutely difficult to prepare a poison that is lower than the one he puts within 1 day. Chapter 222. Is he deliberately making things difficult for me? Zhuge Bo thought that Yun Feng would bargain with him, try to gain more time, or even delay the time. However, Yun Feng's answer surprised him a little, and even strengthened his confidence in Yun Feng. Okay, take me to your herb garden, and don't disturb me for a day. Zhuge Bo dusted himself off, and Yun Feng calmly agreed to Zhuge Bo's request. Zhuge Bo glanced at him up and down, turned around and walked towards the outside of the cave. Follow me. After leaving the cave, Yun Feng discovered that this was a dense forest. They were now on a hill about 500 meters high in the forest. Because it was night, they could not see much scenery outside. Zhuge Bo climbed up the mountain road as if he was walking on flat ground. It seemed that he was walking very slowly, but each step was 10 meters away, and the distance of each step was extremely even. The whole person was climbing the mountain, as if he was ascending vertically. Yun Feng hurriedly gathered his soul power and followed behind Zhuge Bo. Of course, He did not think that he could escape after leaving the cave. It was just a joke to want to escape in front of a titled Duo. Soon, Yun Feng came to the top of the mountain under the leadership of Zhuge. When he got here, Yun Feng could not help but be shocked by the terrain in front of him. In front of him was an inverted cone-shaped valley, and the top of the mountain where they were was the edge of the valley. Thick hot air rose from the valley. The hot air was very humid, and it also carried a bit of the unique smell of sulfur. "Is there a hot spring here?" Yun Feng couldn't help but said in surprise. Zhuge glanced at him. "Boy, you know a lot." Yun Feng smiled and said, "I can't be so stupid that I don't even know the smell of a hot spring. Is your medicine garden on the edge of a hot spring? This is a good place." Yun Feng knew that Zhuge was suspicious, so he pretended not to understand. Hot springs themselves are not suitable for nourishing plants because they contain too many minerals, but some special plants are different. What they need are the minerals and heat in the hot springs. As far as Yun Feng knows, there are many poisonous plants like this. "Follow me." Zhuge stretched out his body and jumped directly from the dark and bottomless mountain in front of him. Due to the thick fog and night, coupled with the steepness of the cliff, in just a blink of an eye, Zhuge figure had disappeared in the mist. "Is he deliberately making things difficult for me?" A hint of pride flashed in Yun Feng's eyes. "Zhuge, if you think you can stump me like this, you are wrong." Purple light flashed from behind, and the 8-spider lance was released again. Yun Feng did not jump down like Zhuge. The 2 lower spears of the 8-spider lance stretched down at the same time, and with a bang, they were inserted into the mountain wall. Then, the 8-spider spears took turns to exert force, carrying Yun Feng, just like walking on flat ground and rushing down the mountain wall. The 8-spider lance, with its sharpness and the characteristics of spider legs, can ignore most of the terrain on the ground. This steep mountain wall may be difficult for others, but it is not difficult for the 8-spider lance. That is, Yun Feng did not use his flying ability. He was afraid of hitting this titled Duo who could not fly. When Zhuge fell into the mountain, he couldn't help feeling a little proud. "Boy, aren't you so arrogant? Let's see how you get down. If you run away, it will only prove that you are just a cowardly junior." Of course, if Yun Feng really jumped down, Zhuge would not let him get hurt. With his strength, catching Yun Feng is just a piece of cake. With the calmness and strength shown by Yun Feng, Zhuge has become more and more interested in this young man. From him, Zhuge saw a maturity different from that of ordinary teenagers, and a special trait, the ability to plan and strategize. Zhuge didn't see Yun Feng jumping down for a long time, and he didn't know why he felt a little disappointed. Just when he thought that he was just a cowardly child, he saw a figure coming quickly along the mountain wall. With his eyesight, he naturally could not see the situation of the figure clearly. "Can this external soul bone be used like this?" A trace of surprise flashed in Zhuge eyes, but he didn't say much, just watched the 8-spider lance behind Yun Feng move rapidly, and it came to him in a moment. With the existence of the purple demon eye, Yun Feng's strength was not much worse than Zhuge at night. Yun Feng didn't look at Zhuge, but turned his eyes to the scene in the valley in front of him. What surprised him was that the hot spring in the valley in front of him was not the same as he imagined. The area of the hot spring was not large, but it was divided into 2 parts. In the oval pool, the color of the hot spring water was milky white and vermilion respectively. What's more strange is that although they are in the same pool, they are clearly separated, do not invade each other, and always stay on their own side. The rolling water vapor is generated by the position between the 2 hot springs, rising continuously, and slowly dissipating until the position of the mountain pass. Yun Feng looked at the scene in front of him, and his heart was extremely excited, and he couldn't help trembling. Although it was expected, he didn't expect to see such a magnificent scene in this world. Although he had never seen it before, there was a similar scene description in his memory. According to Tang San's Xuanchen Baolu, in addition to hidden weapons, there is a special secret record about poisons, which records some extremely rare medicines, some highly toxic, and some natural treasures. At the end of this secret record, there are detailed records of the 3 major treasure basins. This so-called treasure basin, of course, does not refer to yellow and white things, but a treasure basin for medicine. It is also 3 special natural environments. In the environment of the 3 major treasure basins, ordinary plants cannot grow at all, because ordinary plants cannot adapt to the special climate, but the 3 major treasure basins are the derivatives of all precious plants. Moreover, it will shorten the growth time of these rare plants by 10 times. Simply put, if a Ganoderma lucidum grows in any of the 3 major treasure basins for 10 years, it will have the effect of a 100-year-old Ganoderma lucidum. The 3 major treasure basins have unique conditions, which are the best in the world and the place where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathers, and the scene in front of you is exactly that. Ice and fire, yin-yang eyes. The yin-yang eyes of ice and fire refer to the unique spring in front of us, twins born at one glance. The 2 yins and yangs counteract each other, a treasure land that may not be formed in tens of millions of years. In one's lifetime, it is already a very lucky thing to be able to see one of the 3 treasure pots where the essence of heaven and earth is condensed. No wonder why the old monster in front of him can still survive when his own toxins are so strong. He can also cultivate to the titled Douluo realm. This is closely related to the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire in front of him. The yin-yang eyes of ice and fire not only nourish things, but also have extremely special effects on the human body. Once humans or animals live next to the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, then, in a short period of time, the body will be impacted by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth with 2 extreme attributes. If they cannot leave in time, they will definitely explode and die. Chapter 223. Jugubo was deceived again. But for someone like Jugubo who is full of poison, it has a huge benefit. Extreme heat and extreme cold have a restraining effect on poisons, and the place where the yin-yang eye of ice and fire is located has an extremely strong restraint on poisons. Otherwise, it is impossible to let various rare plants grow here at the same time. With the suppression of the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, Jugubo's body can always suppress the poison in his body and prevent it from attacking. The characteristics of the yin-yang eye of ice and fire itself are to protect the surrounding plants, but it has become a good thing for Jugubo to protect himself and save his life. Yin-yang eye of ice and fire? What are you talking about? Jugubo looked at Yun Feng with some doubts. Yun Feng tried to calm his excited mood and tried not to cheer as much as possible. Nothing. I just didn't expect such a good place to exist. If I was only 30% sure of curing your poison before, well, now with the existence of the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, my confidence can be increased to 50%. What did you say? Only 50%? Jugubo's words immediately revealed a bad intention. Boy, have you been lying to me? Yun Feng said coldly. Do I have to lie to you? Your body has been soaked in poisonous fog for so many years, and a 50% chance of recovery is already the highest. However, even if it can't be cured, it will be enough to relieve your physical pain. As for your granddaughter, I am confident that I can cure her without the help of the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. Yun Feng's words were naturally conservative. After all, he didn't have Tang San's ability, so he didn't want to be so decisive. Jugubo's expression became better. He pointed to the area around the yin-yang eye of fire and ice and said, all my medicines are planted here. There are all kinds of poisons and tonics. You can use them, but if you dare to destroy my place, I will make you live a life worse than death. I'll give you some time, the day after tomorrow morning. If you can't pass my test, then it will be your doom. Of course, you can also try to escape. I'm not afraid to tell you that this is a very famous soul beast forest. Except for this mountain being sealed by my poison formation and soul beasts dare not enter, there are soul beasts at least 1,000 years old outside. If you escape, I don't need to do anything. Soul beasts will tear you to pieces. After saying this, Jugubo jumped up and tapped the mountain wall with his toe. He rose up to the top of the mountain pass like a big bird. As his figure moved away, his voice came down again clearly. Boy, remember, don't touch those 2 hot springs. Even I can't bear the scorching heat and extreme cold there for too long. If you touch them, you will die. Looking at Jugubo's figure gradually disappearing in the mist, Yun Feng's mouth gradually curled up a circle of arcs. Do you need to say it? I'm not going to commit suicide. How can I let myself easily splash the spring water and the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire? You know, That is the coldest and hottest place in the world. Jugubo left. Yun Feng no longer had to suppress the excitement in his heart. He walked quickly to the side of the fiery red-hot spring water and the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. The strange thing was that there was no temperature on the surface of this calm hot spring water. Yun Feng would certainly not be deceived by this appearance, this seemingly calm red liquid. Its temperature is enough to be compared with magma. If you touch it out of curiosity, then, wherever you touch it, it will be burned and disappear. Taking a deep breath, Yun Feng only felt that the speed of his heartbeat was accelerating. Although he was not so excited that he lost his mind, he was still a little excited in the face of so many natural treasures. The most important thing was that Tang San's chance was gone again. After thinking for a while, Yun Feng directly said to Yin in his body, "Help me." With the blessing of huge mental power, everything in front of him became extremely clear, although the words were hazy. With the help of the light of the stars and the moon in the sky, Yun Feng could still basically see everything around him. Around the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, there were all kinds of plants, in various shapes and forms, looking like a paradise for plants. And the plants here are all rare things. Just a glance, Yun Feng was already a little stunned. Not far in front of him, near the edge of the milky white hot spring, there was a bunch of things that looked like small insects. Yun Feng squatted down carefully and looked carefully, and his heart was suddenly filled with strong shock. Is this snow silkworm, the best of cordyceps sinensis? Snow silkworm. He recognized the thing in front of him at a glance, and his heartbeat seemed to speed up a few points. The reason why I can tell it at a glance is that the original text describes it in too much detail. In addition, cordyceps itself is a top-quality medicinal material. The so-called winter cordyceps, referred to as cordyceps, it is actually an insect-borne fungus, a low-level parasitic fungus plant. This cordyceps fungus parasitizes on the larvae, pupae or adults of Lepidoptera insects, moths and bees living in the mountains in winter. It invades their bodies, absorbs nutrients, and when the hyphae gradually fill the insect body, the larvae become stiff and die. In summer, the true summer, the fungal spores reproduce in the dead insect body, and a stick-shaped fruiting body grows from the top of the insect's head. This is cordyceps. Cordyceps is named after this. Snow silkworm is another name for the best cordyceps. This cordyceps is grayish-white in appearance with ring patterns on it. There are 8 pairs of legs on the whole body, and the 4 pairs in the middle are the most obvious. The texture is smooth and easy to break, the cross-section is slightly flat, and the white color is slightly yellow. The fruiting body is slender, dark brown to brown, cylindrical, generally longer than the insect body, with slightly swollen spores on the top. The outer color is bright yellow, the inner color is white, plump and fat, not only larger than ordinary cordyceps, but also much better in efficacy. The snow silkworm presented in front of Yun Feng at this time is more than twice as large as the cordyceps sinensis he remembered. This bunch is at least several kilograms. Although the snow silkworm is not considered a treasure of heaven and earth, but such quality must be much better than what I had in my previous life. The most important thing is that I haven't eaten it either. Then, Yun Feng noticed another plant next to the snow silkworm, recalling the knowledge I had gained in my mind before. Is this cinnabar lotus? How can it grow so big? Unlike the nourishing cordyceps, the cinnabar lotus likes coldness and is very cold. It can overcome dryness and heat, and is also a precious medicinal material, which has a miraculous effect on the treatment of fire poison. Whether it is snow silkworm or cinnabar lotus, they are rare good things. If Yun Feng saw these 2 herbs at ordinary times, he would probably be attracted by them directly. But at this moment, he had no time to observe carefully, because his eyes were quickly attracted by a faint fragrance. The outer skin of this thing is yellow-brown, and the cross-section is yellow-red. The single leaves are alternate, the petioles are slender and curved, the leaves are ovate and heart-shaped, and the tip is gradually pointed. In summer, small yellow-green flowers with purple spots bloom from the leaf sap, which are zigzag strips and very strange. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, Knowledge of Immortal Grass. It was a large light pink flower, leafless, with a 3-foot-long stem and a huge flower, 7 feet in diameter. Each petal looked as crystal clear as crystal, and the light pink flower swayed gently with the water mist, growing on the bank where the red and white springs intersect. Feng was still more than 10 meters away from the flower, but he could still smell the faint fragrance. The stamens were light purple, like purple diamonds inlaid there. Although the fragrance spread far, it was not strong. The faint fragrance was as moving as the body fragrance of a virgin. When Feng saw this large pink flower, he couldn't help but feel a little comfortable, because he recognized what this flower was at the first time. Subconsciously, he took a few quick steps, came to the big flower, and sniffed it. The fragrance of the flower remained the same, and it did not become stronger because of his approach. It was still the kind of light fragrance that was refreshing. Feng's body, which had begun to feel a little uncomfortable next to the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, was slightly relieved. At this moment, when Feng turned around subconsciously, he suddenly saw a strange scene. Originally, the surroundings were all dark, but now they all turned pink. This pink light shield was about 10 meters in diameter and the color was very light, but his mental power was so sharp that he immediately determined that he was not dazzled. Turning back to look at the big flower, he realized that this light pink light shield was formed with a big flower as the center. As the light flashed in his mind, Feng blurted out the name of this flower, Fragrant and Beautiful Fairy Product. Although knowledge is something, it is ultimately obtained by reward. So Feng was not sure, but now he knew. He naturally said the name. That's right, it is Fragrant and Beautiful Fairy Product. Feng's heart began to tremble. Although he knew it a long time ago, this is something that can change the fate of some people. In other words, Feng's decision can control a person's future. And these fairy herbs are also useful to him. After all, he had seen snow silkworms and cinnabar lotus before. Although the quality is not as good as that here, they are still visible things. But the pink flower swaying in front of him was a rare immortal product that he had never seen before. The fragrant Douluo immortal product in front of him was bred by the yin-yang eye of ice and fire. It was definitely not transplanted by the old monster Jugubo. The fragrant Douluo immortal product is the nemesis of all poisons and has the effect of neutralizing all toxins. It cannot detoxify itself, but it can overcome poisons. The light pink light shield that Feng saw at this time is exactly the range where it can overcome poisons, and this layer of pink cannot be seen outside the light shield. The fragrance of the fragrant Douluo immortal product is light and elegant. Within its range, any poison has no effect. Its fragrance has the effect of neutralizing all poisons. Of course, if you have been poisoned before entering its fragrance range, then the fragrant Douluo immortal product will be useless. It can be said that it is the best anti-poison immortal grass, but it is a pity that it cannot detoxify. With this fragrant Douluo immortal product, the toxin release of the old monster Jugubo is just a joke. Taking a deep breath, Feng quickly circled around the yin-yang eye of ice and fire. With just a cursory observation, he had already seen countless treasures. There were even treasures like the 9th grade dragons. Feng had already seen at least 7 or 8 kinds of immortal herbs. There were countless top-grade medicinal herbs. Among these herbs, more than half were poisonous, but there were also many that were beneficial. Just like the 2 springs and the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, they competed here. After a simple look, Feng's heart gradually calmed down. If someone else knew the effects of these herbs, he would probably be eager to stuff those heavenly materials into his mouth. But Feng would never do that. Knowing the plot, he knew the effects of these heavenly materials and treasures, and also knew their terribleness. If used them properly, immortal products would become deadly poisons. These heavenly materials and treasures level herbs have extremely strong medicinal properties. If taken too much, it is almost certain that there will be irreversible side effects. When thinking about this, Feng couldn't help but secretly admire Jugubo. He knew that Jugubo might not know these herbs as well as he did, but he should also know that there are many beneficial herbs among these herbs. but he can resist taking them, which shows that he still has some research on medicine. At this time, Yun Feng sat cross-legged there, silently reviewing the knowledge in his mind. Over the years, because there is no application, the memory in his mind has faded a little, and now he must recall it carefully. Otherwise, if the judgment of the medicinal properties is slightly wrong, then there will be no place to bury the body. The sky gradually brightened, and when the dawn light slowly appeared from the distant horizon, Yun Feng also opened his eyes. Zhuge Bo's words were beautiful, saying that he would give Yun Feng one more night, but in fact it was only one more hour. It was already late at night when he brought Yun Feng here. The sun gradually appeared, and the mist sprayed from the eyes of Bingyue Liangyan could not block the skylight. It was like a white mist dragon, curling up and circling in the air. It was dawn, and everything Yun Feng could see became clearer. With a smile on his face, with a light touch of his hand, a dagger with a cold light flashed. He slowly walked towards the herbs beside the cold spring in the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire. During this hour of meditation, Yun Feng was not only thinking about the information of these herbs, but also thinking about how he could deal with the situation in front of him. Yun Feng naturally believed whether Zhuge Bo was trustworthy or not. For a promise, he helped Prince Xuxing countless times. However, no matter what time, he had to leave a way out for himself. With the memory of the efficacy of the herbs, he had a plan in his mind. Soon, Yun Feng stopped in front of a white herb. At this time, Yun Feng had already used all his strength to activate the soul power in his body, and a layer of light white mist appeared on the surface of his skin. Although he had soul power to protect his body, Yun Feng's body was still shaking constantly at this time, because he was bearing the impact of the extremely cold air. The top of the white herb looked like a large white flower, octagonal in shape, with tiny stamens in the center that sparkled like ice crystals. There was no fragrance, and its location was exactly the center point of one side of the cold extreme yin spring. Not daring to wait and hesitate, Yun Feng swung the dagger in his hand quickly, and at the same time his body quickly flashed back, and in the blink of an eye he was already 10 meters away. As the cold light of the dagger passed, the large octagonal white flower fell among the herbs. In an instant, a chill spread out, and a layer of light white frost hung on the surrounding herbs. Although this herb is also a fairy product, it is not beneficial. On the contrary, it is a rare and extremely poisonous herb. Yun Feng believed that even a strong man like poisoned Buo Zhuge Bo would never dare to stay by its side. Chapter 225, Bodybuilding. This thing is called the eight-angled mysterious ice grass, a strange cold flower that can make people feel cold and numb. This grass can make people feel cold within 10 meters, and if it is used for a long time, it will cause a cold poison to attack the heart, and there is no medicine to cure it. Not to mention eating it, even being next to it will be unlucky. If you want to pick it, you must use gold and iron. After Yun Feng cut off the eight-angled mysterious ice grass, he did not stay here, nor did he pick it up, but ran quickly to the other side of the yin-yang eye of ice and fire, the center of the blazing Yangquan. This time, his target was a plant that looked like a cabbage, but was all fiery red. After hesitating for a moment, Yun Feng still stood 10 meters away from it and slowly raised his palms, accompanied by the gathering of soul power. In order to make himself move faster, Yun Feng released the 8-spider spear of the external soul bone from his back. The 3-meter-long 8-spider spear was almost just a flick and a fall. He had already arrived next to the fiery red herb. Yun Feng controlled the 8-spider spear to send his body down, and swung his hands out quickly, digging out the fiery red herb from the root. After completing this seemingly simple action, the 8-spider lands flew up again, carrying Yun Feng's body more than 10 meters away. Yun Feng looked at his palms and couldn't help but smile bitterly. At this time, his palms and fingers were already torn. You have to know that Yun Feng's body is now invulnerable even to sharp blades. He was burned so badly while digging a plant. If others heard it, they would think it was almost unimaginable. In contrast to the extremely cold 8-anus mysterious ice grass before, what Yun Feng picked this time was a highly poisonous fairy product with top-level fire poison. Fiery apricot delicate spars. This thing only grows in hot places, and can survive even in magma. All its effects are exactly the opposite of Aidan's mysterious ice grass. Blue-purple light rushed out from around Yun Feng's body. Under Yun Feng's control, 2 blue-silver kings were thrown out at the same time, and the target was exactly the 2 extremely poisonous fairy products. The effect of the fiery apricot is exactly the opposite of that of the 8-angled mysterious ice grass, but it cannot be cut off with metal. It must be picked off with jade without reducing its efficacy. Yun Feng's hands are not real jade, so he directly took out the jade gloves he had prepared before. Under the action of the jade hand, it was successfully dug out. For this preliminary preparation, Yun Feng's body has begun to feel painful. He has been at the ice and fire yin-yang eye for a long time, although in this process he tried his best to put himself at the intersection of the 2 extreme hot springs of the ice and fire yin-yang eye. There are also some restraints on the cold poison and fire poison by the Xian fairy product, but at this time, his body has already reacted, especially after picking up 2 fairy products with extreme natures one after another. This reaction has become more obvious. The alternation of cold and heat burst in the body. At this time, Yun Feng's face has been blue and red, and the blood in the body is surging. The soul power can no longer suppress it. The power of the ice and fire yin-yang eye is naturally known by Poison Buo Jugubo. He has never brought Jugu Yan here. He is afraid that the breath here will hurt his granddaughter. As for himself, he was poisonous, so the disadvantages of yin-yang eyes of ice and fire turned into benefits for him. So naturally there was no problem at all. The old monster brought Yun Feng here this time just to be generous. At the same time, he also wanted to see if Yun Feng, who claimed to be able to detoxify him, could survive in such a place. If he could withstand the power of yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, and resist his poison, then he could really believe that Yun Feng had the ability to detoxify. Immortal treasures, Yun Feng sighed in his heart. He knew that if it were not for the yin-yang eyes of ice and fire, any kind of immortal herbs would probably be guarded by something extremely poisonous, and it was difficult for any creature to survive here. So the immortal herbs were still there, but there was no guard. However, no matter how good the immortal herbs were, they had to be understood to be useful. Otherwise, not only would they not be of any benefit, but they would also cost lives. Even those immortal herbs that were very tonic, if there was no special method of taking them and other medicines to neutralize them, they could also kill people. The 2 blue-silver kings were thrown out like silk threads, and fell towards the 2 immortal herbs at the same time. At the moment when Yun Feng wrapped the 2 immortal herbs at the front of the blue-silver grass, he threw the 2 immortal herbs up at the same time like lightning and dropped them in his direction. At the same time, he used both hands to quickly cut off the 2 blue-silver grasses. Without the support of soul power, the toughness of the blue-silver grass was limited. They separated instantly under the cutting of Yun Feng's jade gloves. Yun Feng's choice was undoubtedly correct. Almost 1 second after he cut off the 2 blue-silver grasses, the blue-silver grass on the left had turned into an ice stick, while the one on the right had turned into ashes. If the effects of these 2 immortal herbs were directly transmitted into his body through the blue-silver grass, then, before using them, I'm afraid I would be in trouble first. The 2 immortal herbs fell on the ground in front of Yun Feng in no particular order. It was strange that they were extremely cold and hot before. When they gathered in front of Yun Feng, the cold and hot ores disappeared at the same time. A layer of faint red light covered the octagonal black ice grass, and a layer of faint white gas covered the fiery apricot delicates bars. Yun Feng knew, there can be no hesitation at this time. Although the 2 immortal herbs will be restrained by each other's aura after they meet each other, their effects will disappear completely after 10 breaths, and within these 10 breaths, it is the best time to take them. Without hesitation, Yun Feng picked up the 2 poisonous immortal herbs from the ground and stuffed them into his mouth. Although the 2 immortal products are poisonous, they are no longer as domineering as before after being restrained by their nemesis. They melt in the mouth and turn into saliva and flow down the throat. Yun Feng only feels saliva at the bottom of his tongue and the fragrance overflows. The taste is really good, Yun Feng thought secretly in his heart. I hope they won't be too hot next. While thinking, Yun Feng quickly tore off his clothes, and stopped using his soul power. taking the 8 spider lance behind him and the blue-silver grass around his body into his body. It took only 3 breaths for Yun Feng's body to tremble violently, and then a layer of ice blue rose directly from under his feet. In the blink of an eye, the whole person has completely turned blue, and then another layer of red rose. At this time, Yun Feng looked like a freshly cooked shrimp. The alternation of blue and red looked extremely strange. However, Yun Feng's spirit almost collapsed in such a simple alternation process. The impact of the 2 extreme wars was even more painful than the last time he absorbed the spirit ring of the human-faced demon spider. At this time, he still had a little control over his body. He took a deep breath and staggered forward. In front of him was the yin-yang eye of ice and fire. Yun Feng closed his eyes and fell towards the intersection of the extremely cold yin spring and the blazing yang spring. With a plop, Yun Feng was submerged in the spring water and sank into it in an instant. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.